Ladies and gentlemen, Z-Bot, Rico. It's Rico and Bot live on the Buffalo Fanatics YouTube channel. Post-game report. Coming off of one of the most effed up games I've ever seen in my entire life. One of the most egregiously coached games I've seen in some time, and God knows we've seen a handful of them. Buffalo Bills fall to 3-2, lose in Houston, 23-20, and boy, oh boy, strap in, fasten your seatbelt, loosen it if you want to, get comfortable because we got a lot to talk about. Rico and I, the first 3 weeks, we're getting ready for the wedding. We're getting ready to have fun. The Bills are high flying. Now we sit here with you post game, 2 weeks removed from 3 spectacular weeks in a row. And I don't even know what to make of what I just saw. I have no idea what to make of that ending, Rico. But that was a game we will not soon forget as Buffalo Bills fans.
Cut the music. Cut the effing music. Let's get into it because the viewers want to know how we're feeling. The viewers want to feel how we're feeling. And in one word, in the chat, if you guys are in the chat right now, one word, describe your feeling right now. Describe this game. Describe your feeling right now, because this was a game we were very much in it at the end. Very much in it. Are you kidding me? We go from looking like just an extreme embarrassment for a second game in a row. We could not find ourselves. Receivers can't get separation. Josh is looking like a damn rookie again. Defense is just Swiss cheese. But somehow the game remained close. How? I don't know. But I'll tell you this. If not, which is so odd for me to say, but if not for the defense, this game would have been out of hand. And we're not even talking. We're not even on this because we could have easily been, you know what, on to the next one, man. We just got blown out. No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. The defense gave y'all a shot. Even with their blemishes, even with the missing pieces, we still give y'all a shot. Terrell Bernard, absolutely wonderful play to give you the ball back. Smoot, recover fumble by the beast Dorian Williams. You have a shot in the red zone. Bro, I get so sick. I get so sick of the defense help. This is the same shit that happened in the playoffs. Jordan Poyer with a strip in the end zone to give the Bills a shot. It's the same story. It's the same freaking story. And it gets old. It gets old. But it's not even that. It's the fact that we were not able to capitalize on offense. We weren't.
Oh my God.
We weren't able to capitalize. Go ahead and jump in.
I just want to say I put a poll in the chat. I'm interested to hear. You guys can go ahead and answer. It'll be in the live comments section. And I said, who do you think is most to blame for this loss? Brady, McDermott, Allen, or other? I probably should have put a fourth option and said a combination of all of them because that's what it felt like. But my God, where to begin? What you just said is 100% accurate in the fact that I feel the same way. This defense, which we all know is on its last leg in a variety of different areas, allows 17 points in the first half. Didn't look great. But boy, did they turn the corner in that second half. And they made plays that allowed this game to even be competitive. This was going to be a sequel of last week's debacle against the Ravens. That's what we were looking at. This defense picks off C.J. Stroud. Terrell Bernard picks off Stroud. I think the stat that they showed on the screen, that was Stroud's first pick at home in over 220 attempts. So that in itself is rare. They then get a strip sack within the Bills' red zone, taking over right in striking distance. Can't capitalize on that. They then get gifted that unbelievable, like, I'm talking hand-delivered from God himself, intentional grounding that takes Fairbairn out of field goal range. They have to punt it to the Bills.
Buddy.
They then execute maybe the most perfect punt I've ever seen, given the circumstance. And then what would unfold next to me was the the cherry on top of an egregiously coached football game from top to bottom. What do you want to talk about first? Do you want to talk about the ending sequence there? Because I've been sitting here.
The ending sequence.
I've been sitting here for 30 minutes trying to understand what the strategy was there at the end. Let's kind of unpack what we just witnessed. We just kind of told you in a nutshell how lucky the Bills. Now, I don't even want to say lucky, I guess. The defense, nothing lucky about it. They performed in the second half. But in totality, it felt like the Bills were in a lucky position to be in a spot at the end of the game, to take the clock down, go to overtime where it's once again 0-0, and you have a chance. And let's face it, the Bills were playing better football in the second half than the Texans. You take that into overtime, who knows what happens? There is 32 seconds left going into that drive. Josh Allen had 9 completions. Going into that drive, Josh Allen was 9 of 27. There's 32 seconds left on the clock. They're in their own end zone. They have 0 timeouts. There's a lot of discussion right now because I immediately tweeted that was one of the most egregious coaching performances I've seen in a while. That part right there, to me, that was almost fireable to an extent, what happened on that final drive. That, to me, is as bad of a sequence as I've ever seen. A lot of people are saying if you just ran the ball 3 times or took a knee, they would have burned all 3 timeouts, but they still would have gotten the ball back with a favorable field position because of the location of where the punt would be, and they probably would still win it. Okay, fine. My problem wasn't trying to throw the ball for a first down. Rico, they threw essentially three go routes from their own end zone with no timeouts. They weren't trying to get a first down and take this game to overtime. They were trying to go and win it with 32 seconds backed into their own end zone with no timeouts. And you knew up until that point, they could not throw the football. They had nothing open all game long. Once again, Allen had 9 completions going into that drive. They didn't run it once. That was the only thing that was seemingly working on a consistent basis to some degree in this game. They didn't run it once. I'd understand maybe first down, right? You throw that jump ball to Coleman. And of course, that pass interference could have went either way. It didn't go in the Bills' favor, but a lot did go in the Bills' favor. I'm not going to sit here and bitch about that. But you try that play, it doesn't work. Maybe let's try and go for the first down or at least get ourselves out of the back of the end zone, because you know that when you do have to punt, if that's what winds up coming of that drive, you have arguably the best kicker in the league on the other side. Right now, the best kickers in the league are Kaimi Fairbairn and Brandon Aubrey of the Dallas Cowboys. You knew if they had to punt from the back of their own end zone that Fairbairn was going to have an attempt. What wound up happening was essentially exactly what would have happened if they didn't get the intentional grounding. You ran 16 seconds off the clock. You threw 3 jump ball type plays out of your own end zone. It felt like to me, Rico, the strategy was let's go gain 60 yards in 30 seconds with no timeouts and win this football game. They hadn't been able to move the ball through the air all night. Magically, in that setting, it was all of a sudden going to happen. They ran 16 seconds off the clock. They didn't force the Texans to have to burn a single one of those timeouts. They didn't gain a yard. And of course, the punt, it could have been the best punt in the world. It was always going to wind up with the Texans being in a spot to go in and win the football game. And a 59-yarder, that would have been good from probably 64. So it doesn't really matter where it wound up, being punted from. I don't understand how the strategy there was not either to get rid of the timeouts for Houston or at least try to move the ball out of the end zone so then when you do have to punt, when the Texans field it, they aren't 5 yards away from a game-winning field goal attempt. I have a feeling, Rico, whether it was, 3 either slants, crossing patterns, dig routes, whether it was 3 of those, 3 rushes or whatever, if you would have just given yourself an additional 7-8 yards on that punt, that could have been all the difference. Instead, Rico, they threw essentially 3, I don't want to say Hail Marys, but in that setting, it's kind of like what it felt like. And I for the life of me, I was talking with my dad before, and it just felt like, how blessed are we to be in this spot? Take it to overtime. Let's see what happens. And they did the opposite. They literally just gave Houston the ball back where they just pissed down their leg and had that intentional grounding. I am flabbergasted. There's no word to describe it. Your thoughts on that sequence, because to me, Rico, it's unexplainable, and there's no question about it. That's going to be the storyline for these Bills all the way until next Monday when they take on the Jets, which, by the way, that game will now be for first place in the AFC East. If the Bills could have found a way to dig this one out tonight with all the chances that they had and then won next week, they would have had a 3-game lead on the AFC East. You are now playing for first place. If you find a way to lose to the Jets next week, all of a sudden you are in second place. That's how big of a game that was, and it was blundered away in every possible fashion, except for the defense. But I can't give the defense too much love, Rico, because every 3rd and long that they were faced against, they gave every single one of them up. I don't even know where to begin, but let's just keep talking about that.
Tag me in. I'm in. Here we go. Here's where my issue lies. All right. And it started off when we got the interception. We're lifeless at this point, right? The Texans are moving the football. Terrell Bernard made an absolutely phenomenal defensive play where he gets into his drop. He lets his guy go by saying, not important. He's not going for there. As he's looking, he sees receiver coming in. He's like, that's where he's going. Turns his head around, makes a play, gives the ball back to the offense. This is what you kind of want out of your defense, where it's a bend, but don't break. We're going to allow some things to happen. We knew this. The unit that was going to have to carry us was always going to be the offensive side of the ball. But here we are in this position to gain the ball back. So when we get the ball back, what do we do with it? It's what we did with the football is what I think kind of threw me for a loop here, right? So 1st and 10, James Cook, no gain. All right. And this is what it's.
Wait, is this the drive when they got the fumble recovery or the pick? Which one is this?
This is after the intercept. No, this is the fumble.
Okay.
I want to go to the fumble. We get the ball back.
Trubisky takes that initial snap there.
Trubisky takes that initial snap and gives it to him. Now, this is my first problem. And I knew because Josh Allen just got hurt the series prior. Remember that. Josh got hurt. It was something, I guess he got winded. He took a minute. They got him to the sideline. We get the ball back. Josh is nowhere near. I'm saying Trubisky, all right, run the football, which I have no problems. He's cold. He hasn't thrown the football. He doesn't know the defense. Just run the football. What a piss poor effort by James Cook. Piss poor effort by James Cook. People are going to say, that's the least. Nah, because that could have set us up for a better play. Piss poor effort by James Cook in that. And I'm going back there because it sets up everything else. It sets up the tone, right? So James Cook to the left doesn't get it, all right? And I think this is where actually this is the one that Allen returns to the game, okay? And we call a timeout. Buffalo calls timeout. Okay, we got to play 3rd and 10. And Curtis Samuel. What? Curtis Samuel. Brooklyn, stand up. Sit your ass down, Curtis Samuel. Bro, we brought you here because you have some kind of relationship with Joe Brady. So this will be a seamless transition into this offense. You were targeted 4 times and you caught 1 ball for 0 yards. What is that? We'll get into that. We'll get into my man Curtis Samuel. Milk carton alert for Curtis Samuel, man. I'm ready to say, yo, where's Shavers at? Give me somebody. We'll get into that. But I don't want to stray too far because this is what that kills me. So we go to Curtis Samuel with an awful attempt. Al-Shahir was a damn good player, but we settle for the field goal. So now 2020, because now it brings me to what you were talking about, right? The defense did its thing. Offense is doing their thing. We're now in it. We're 2020. Defense gets a stop again. We get the ball back. So now 30 seconds, like you said, I'm thinking to myself, and this is where I want to push back on you a little bit. because you're like, oh, are they going to, because I asked the question, are they going to go for the win or are they going to play it safe to go into overtime? Some folks might say, why would you play it safe to go overtime? This is about football. You got to win the game. Not when you don't have receivers. Not when you don't have the tools to get the dub. You don't have the tools. You don't have the facility for that, big man. You don't. We don't have the facility. So now we're sitting here going deep shot, and I saw it in the bottom of the screen. They brought everybody up, and I saw the one-on-one shot that he had with Keon Coleman. I saw it. I was like, he's taking that shot, and I don't mind it. Right? Jump ball. Poorly placed football, number one. Poorly placed football. Because I'm not going to sit here and blame the receivers all the way through, but they're very much a reason for the abysmal performance. But that was a pair of poorly thrown football by Josh. So now, second down. So I'm thinking to myself, what do we do in this regard? Meanwhile, Texans have all their timeouts. So you got to keep that in mind as well. You run the football, they're going to immediately stop the clock. But at least you kill clock by running the football, and it puts you in position to throw again on third down. And that way, you can kind of figure some things out. But we go 3 straight throws, and I think it took off 16 seconds.
Yep.
16 seconds off the clock. What? So now I'm sitting here, what the hell? The Texans are getting the ball back. Unless we have a boom of a punt, bro, they're going to have an opportunity. What do? We send everybody deep. I said, what? We're playing prevent defense?
Dude, oh my God. I forgot about
prevent defense. Did you not learn from 13 seconds? Did you not learn from 13 seconds?
They were defending it like they needed a Hail Mary. They were defending it like they needed a Hail Mary. They needed 5 yards to kick that field goal. They had, four guys covering the end zone.
Bro, what does he do? He sits there, pretends he's going deep, dunks it right into the center of the field to give Fairbairn, which was a damn good kicker last year, an opportunity to win the game. And that's exactly how we did. We set it up for them. Shame on McDermott, and I said it. This year, I'm standing on it. Although I love McDermott, and I think he's a damn good coach. Bro, if you don't get it done this year, fam, they gotta really sit your ass down and be like, yo, are you the guy to take this team forward? Bro, like you just said, we're on a 2-game losing skid. We're going into a division game, and I think we're on the road to the Jets.
Yep.
On Monday night.
Yep.
Come on, man.
It's not just that, too. So let's talk about the other reasons why this was just, for starters, say what you want.
I don't this piece, man. Shit.
Look, I don't care what you thought about it. Dalton Kincaid, to me, was that not a catch on that 3rd and 13? And you don't throw the challenge flag on that? You don't challenge that? Last week, the Bills threw a challenge flag when they were down 28 in the 4th quarter or whatever the hell it was. And I tweeted out, is this not the most laughable challenge ever? Just get the hell out of there healthy. Get this thing over with. And someone said back to me, oh, so should we not challenge? Should we not challenge when there could be another call on the other side of it? Okay, that's fine. How the hell in that moment, when you can't do anything offensively, 3rd and 13, Dalton Kincaid on the sideline, unbelievable grab. To me, I don't know how they initially ruled that an incompletion. How you don't at the very least attempt to challenge that, I, for the life of me, cannot understand it. You then later in the game, on the James Cook catch near the pylon, it looked like they were trying to decide whether or not to challenge that, and they had to burn a timeout. They had to burn a timeout when James Cook went up and grabbed it, and he only got 1 foot, and it was obvious he didn't catch it. They burned a timeout, Rico. And then after burning that timeout, they come out and throw the ball away. So you had 2 moments right there. I don't know if the extra timeout for the Bills in their pocket would have made a difference. Maybe it would have. Maybe it would have allowed them to run the ball once to start the drive off when they got the ball back and then call the timeout, then drop a pass play. I don't know. There's 2 moments right there. To me, not challenging that Kincaid catch was insane to me. Whether or not you thought it was a catch or not, it was so close that how you don't challenge it there, the way that the game was going, and then to end it like this, it was just sequence after sequence. But
let me bring that back again, because it wasn't just that he didn't challenge it. It was the time that it happened. It happened at the end of the half with all your timeouts left. what's it going to hurt if you take a challenge? It doesn't hurt you one bit, but he was already so prepared to just move on to the next phase that he didn't. Bro, listen, there's a lot of human error that happens in this game. They could have came back and said, you know what? When you really look at it, he had it trapped against his body. Although the ball moved a little bit, he never lost control of the ball, and he had his 2 feet in there. That changes the whole landscape of the game.
Yes.
But you gave up on that and went, let's just punt the ball and let's move on to the next one. Fam. That's something for me. Now here's where I gotta ask you. I don't know if I should get into the next topic because we're staying on it, or do we want to get into some reads here?
I mean, whatever. We're going to be going for a while here. We got too much to talk about, and it's not good.
Let's get into the read if you want to jump in on the underdog one.
No, we'll do that in a minute. I can't do that yet. I can't do it yet.
All right. So if you're not ready to do that, let me just jump into this one because I'm hot on this one. Okay. So as I'm looking at this all play out, right? I'm watching this all play out. And you're watching it at home, fuming, I'm sure of it. That's why I can't watch with people. I can't go anywhere and watch games with people because I'm not normal. So I'm watching this thing play out. And I'm like, who do I blame here? If I'm gonna blame someone, and I'm looking to see who is the most egregious out of this whole, and I'm looking at Josh Allen. I'm like, Josh Allen didn't play well today, man. He did not play well today.
That's putting it kindly.
And I'm gonna hear it all week. It's not Josh's fault. He doesn't have the receivers. It's about the cost. We paid him big time money to manage the offense. When Josh didn't have the weapons, we brought him Cole Beasley, we brought him John Brown, we gave him something to kind of make him understand how to play with receivers that can run routes and receivers that have speed that you can actually use your arm talent. Then we go and trade for a elite talented receiver in Stephon Diggs. Now you know what it takes to win football games with elite talent. Now it's gone now because that's the nature of the business. But you've gained experience. So go out and show me what you got because we paid you $250 million. Fam, you got to be better than that. Especially with what you gave us last week. You got to be better than that and demand more from your receivers. If you got to choke a mother effer, you got to choke them out and say, yo, wake up. Wake up. We talked about it off season. I said, he's going to have to be the leader that has to start barking at some players and say, I need you. I need you. And none of that. And now we see it. Keon Coleman, 1 reception, 49 yards. Thank goodness he didn't step out of bounds. But if not for that big play, bro, we didn't do diddly squat. We did diddly squat. So Brandon Beane, get on your mother effing phone and start making phone calls. Start making phone calls because this ain't enough. This ain't enough. Golly, man, you got me heated up in this beast, man.
So 2 things can be true at once, and that's what I think people fail to realize. Defending Allen in this game, I understand the injuries, right? I understand that. His hand's still definitely bothering him. I don't know how he went back into the game after that hit. It looked like he was concussed. I'm pretty sure right now he's probably in concussion protocol, I would imagine, or whatever. 2 things can be true at once, however. This wide receiver core right now is certainly... It is showing the signs of what we feared it might look like going into the year. Keon Coleman led this team with 1 catch in 49 yards, and that was on a 4th and 6 that essentially saved the ball game. And the majority of those 49 yards came on him making a broken tackle, which he then ran into the end zone on a terrific play where he somehow scaled the sideline. It looked like he might have stepped out, and he somehow didn't. It was an incredible play. Josh Allen was 9 of 30. 9 of 30 for 131 yards. He should have had multiple interceptions in this game. I don't know how that one drive that looked like there should have been 2 back-to-back, they didn't get picked off. But he did not play well at all. There were moments where there were guys wide open that it wasn't even close. You can argue with whoever you want about the Mac Hollins throw. To me, that ball, the difference between Mac Hollins being wide open and Nico Collins being wide open, that could have been the difference in the ball game right there. Stroud hit Nico Collins in stride. That was a 67-yard touchdown. They then, the Bills, of course, had Mac Hollins wide open on a similar type route going down the sideline. I know he got his hands on it. You can argue he probably should have caught it, but it was a ball where he had to turn around to go and get it. It wasn't a well-thrown ball to me. It just was not a well-thrown ball. He then had Dalton Kincaid on a seam route down the middle, who had a solid full step on his man, underthrew that football. There were a couple of times throughout the game where he had guys and he either underthrew it or just didn't hit him at all. There were certainly moments throughout this game where you needed more out of Allen, and we just didn't get it. And I know it's hard to criticize him because there are a million moments where the Bills lose if he doesn't do the things that he does. But today, the Bills gave Josh Allen multiple opportunities, it felt like, to go and win that football game, and they were never capitalized on. 9 of 30. I don't care who that is. That is an abysmal day. When 49 yards of it came with yards after the catch from Keon Coleman on their lone passing touchdown of the day. But if I read you off these receiving numbers, you did not have one receiver on this team, Rico. And this is why this is crazy, because in the beginning of the year, we were thinking to ourselves, man, this might be a formula that is going to work. Sharing the ball. There was not a single receiver, Rico, that had more than 2 receptions in the entire football game. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 receivers caught balls. Your leading receiver, like I said, Keon Coleman, was on 1 catch for 49 yards. That's now 2 games where he's only gotten 1 catch. Both have resulted in touchdowns. Dalton Kincaid, 2 catches. Mac Hollins, 2 catches. James Cook, 2 catches. Curtis Samuel, 1 catch for 0 yards. Ray Davis, 1 catch for 4 yards. That is your receiving stat line for the football game. The fact that the Bills were in position to take this game to overtime at the end is absolutely insane. We had talked yesterday about the Davante Adams situation, and we said, let's see how tomorrow plays out. I don't think you could have gotten a more staunch example of needing maybe additional resources to try and get this team to where you want it to be than what you saw today. Missing Khalil Shakir certainly hurt, but at the end of the day, Khalil Shakir in there or not, this has sort of been what this team has looked like week in and week out. They were just getting more guys involved earlier on in the year. They were running the ball better, and the screen game was working better. These intermediate routes. Teams are seeing it coming now. The Ravens saw it last week. They defended it exceptionally well. And then tonight, or this afternoon, trying to run a screen route. How many times did they try to do that? And it was just blown up every time. Doing the motion to get these guys open in the intermediate pass game. Nothing seemed to be there. It also felt like James Cook was eliminated from the game plan after a really solid start for him. I know he got 20 carries, but did it not feel like there should have been more carries for James Cook in this game, especially early on, different ways to get him involved perhaps? They had numerous opportunities offensively to go and do something, and they wound up doing nothing. I understand the argument about the receiver situation, and I myself am sitting here right now, and nobody right now wants Davante Adams on this team more than me after what I saw today. But regardless of who you have out there, 9 of 30 for 130 yards is absolutely unacceptable. And they were given these opportunities throughout the game to right the ship, and they just could never do it. And that's why, Rico, to me, it's just one more reason why you don't go into that final drive backed into your own end zone with 30 seconds and no timeouts and try to make one of these receivers who hasn't done anything all game, try to make him into a superhero. Keon Coleman's a rookie. You're throwing him a jump ball down the sideline on your first down play. The next snap after that, Rico, they're throwing a 40-yard bomb to Mac Hollins. Why? And then third down, they bring the pressure. Allen has to get rid of it because he can't take the sack, or then the game ends right there, and he has to throw the football away. Why that was the strategy, I will never understand. The Bills could have stolen this game offensively in overtime, and they gave it away. They gave this, as much as they did not deserve to win this game, they ended up giving it away at the end. But the big moments that stood out to me are, for Allen at least, it's the deep balls. When's the last time we've gotten like we saw from Stroud today, I guess, to Nico Collins, just one of those type of plays? I really can't remember the last time, and I'm sure I'm missing one, but it felt like we had one today with Mac Hollins that was gone to the wayside. I felt like we had one with Kincaid that was gone to the wayside. Today was brutal. And when you stack that on top of what we saw last week, when you took that into this game, because the first half was just egregious. It felt like, 17-3 at half. It felt like it was 30-3. And the Bills defense, it's just got like Smoot stepping up. Bernard right off the injury. We didn't even know if he was going to play, making an unreal interception. These guys were doing the little things, despite allowing every third down in sight. That really was a major backbreaker for this D, and I cannot let him off the hook for it. But at the end of the day, the results, the second half, Rico, they allowed 6 points, 3 of which were essentially gifted to the Texans offense by the play calling, in my opinion, of the Bills offense at the end. This Bills defense stepped up. This Bills offense in the second half, it just felt like they could not get anything going consistently. And Joe Brady, it felt like it's feeling like he doesn't know how to orchestrate the game when what he wants to do is being taken off the table. Like when he wants to run these screen routes, or when he wants to get the motion going for these short game type passes that were really working effectively the first 3 weeks. It just feels like it's completely discombobulated. There is absolutely no rhythm at all. Josh doesn't seem to have a vibe with anybody. And you saw that more so today than ever with Shakir not out there. You and I have been talking about how it feels like they have a connection, and you've been seeing that on the field. That's what you felt the most today. With Shakir not out there, it wasn't just the production, but it was the lack of any chemistry with anybody else out there. And the stat line reflects it. I mean, this receiving stat line, Rico, it is
abysmal.
I don't even know. Yeah, that there's no word adequate enough to describe just how bad this truly was. And to add insult to injury, the way you lose in that heartbreaking fashion. I mean, this was as a disgusting a loss as you could have possibly have imagined.
You couldn't have. Here's the thing, and I'm actually curious as to the poll that you put that we have up on the in the chat right now. And I was having a look. We got about 600 people that have touched this poll right now. 692.
Okay.
And right now, 22% are putting it on Allen.
Okay.
26% on Brady, 41 on McDermott, and 11% on other. Where do you see where most at fault for our blunder tonight?
I would probably go
based on that poll.
Yeah, so based on that poll, I would probably go 45% Brady. I would probably go 30% McDermott, 25% Allen. That's kind of how I see it.
So
I think I put the majority of the blame on Joe Brady in this one.
Then I'm with you. Joe Brady was my issue today. He was my issue last week, and he's my issue today. And how things change so quickly. Because 3 weeks ago, oh man, everybody say goodbye to Brady because it's going to be his last year with the team because he's going to be surely picked up as a head coach somewhere. Man, ladies and gentlemen, Brady, if you pay attention and probably this is what Diggs saw on the wall. Forget about the relationship with Diggs and Allen. But the way the offense was being rolled and moving other pieces around, which I totally get because we started to move and win. But also knowing that people knew that we had Diggs on the squad, so it allowed other people to eat. But you don't have that anymore. There is no Diggs replacement on the squad. You can talk about it all you want about Curtis Samuel or Shakir being that guy. It wasn't apparent today. It wasn't apparent today. And Joe Brady needs to be better. Listen, I said it today. Our game, I can't wait until the advanced stats come out to see how many passes went 4 yards, 5 yards and below because of screen after screen after screen after screen, a different variation of a screen. Knock it off already.
As you're talking about this, I'm wondering, I want to know something in regard to this. What are your thoughts on the amount of empty that they run? They do not have the personnel to run the amount of empty that they're running. They're running 5 wide. Like there were moments where they were running the ball well, and then you don't even give the deception of having James Cook in the backfield for a play action. You don't even bother with the play action. There were moments where they were just running straight up empty. I don't think anybody out there, Rico, is threatened by the Bills running empty right now. And they seem to be doing it a lot. That was my biggest problem tonight with Joe Brady. It just felt like there was no feel for the game. And there was nothing open downfield. Yeah, there was nothing open downfield, and I understand trying to get guys involved intermediately. But I didn't think there was anything schemed up for Allen to run tonight. It felt like all of his runs were by him just taking it. He had 54 yards on 4 carries. It felt like tonight there were moments where they had to let Josh be the Superman, and it just never got unleashed. And I think that the microcosm of the play calling tonight could be found in that final drive where you just, I don't understand what the mindset was of just thinking that you have guys out there to be able to move the ball 50, 60 yards in 30 seconds by throwing it up with no timeouts in 30 seconds.
But the tough part in this is knowing that you're limited, right? Yes. This is what I don't understand. You have a guy in MVS that's supposed to be a burner, a speed guy. And you have Curtis Samuel that's supposed to be your speed guy, 4-3. Why do you have your speed guys running horizontal rather than stretching the field? That way you have underneath. I'm not an X and O guy. Are you an X and O guy?
No.
I am not an X and O guy. But I know some of the basic stuff. Stretch it out. Get guys underneath. Put a little stress on the defensive safeties. Put a little stress on the linebackers. Let's do something. But we were just bland. It's like they knew what was coming. They knew what was coming. And for crying out loud, Josh Allen, for crying out loud, when the pocket breaks down, you don't always have to hit right. Roll right. Bro, you almost gave up an interception. There was absolutely nobody there. And Josh Allen's sitting here trying to force something, man. And it,
right in the middle of the field.
And it goes right back to this. There's nobody on that team that Josh Allen trusts to make a move and get open. Like you have on this, it was happened last week and it happened this week again. Keon Coleman gets dinked right in the head. Bing. Why is your head not turned around?
That was insane. When's the last time?
Why is your head not turned around? Where's your head at?
Rifled off of somebody's head. When's the last time you've seen that? I'm so glad you brought that up. Is that not the perfect representation of the camaraderie between Allen and this receiving core right now? He rifled a screen pass right off of his head.
You know what pissed me off even more? And this is wild for me, but it pissed me off. At pregame, they showed Keon Coleman walking around with his chest out, and he had these big old chains on his shit. Yo, you cannot walk around like you dripping. You can't walk around like you iced up and you putting a brick on the field. Man, golly, man. Like, you're a rookie. Yo, sit there, get in your playbook, make sure you got it right, and let's roll. All this flashing shit, I get sick of it, man. I'm trying to stay away from Cousin, but yo, that drives me nuts. You're my second rounder. I expect more from him. I don't care if people talk about, he's a rookie. Man, bump all that. Are you a ball player or not? Are you a football player or not? Listen, Christian Benford is a 7th rounder. He's a ball player, starting over the guy that drafted in the 1st round. So I don't want to hear he's a rookie, so you got to give these rookies a chance. Man, F all that. Not even trying to hear it. You're a receiver. You've been doing this your collegiate career. You know what to do. Run routes, get down the playbook, and get down with your quarterback. So you know what the heck is going on. Because if Khalil Shakir is gone for the year, which he's not, but if he is gone for the year, we still got to, one of y'all got to step up. One of y'all got to step up. And now look what you've done. Now you force, and if he doesn't, I'll be disappointed in Brandon Beane. But now you force Brandon Beane to now really have a look at what's out there. And I'm not talking about, let me see who's on free agency. Nah, you got to make a trade for somebody. Some picks, I know you love your picks, Brandon Beane, but you're going to have to give the picks up. So if I'm you, Devontae Adams is probably way too steep. Amari Cooper is right there. The Browns are an absolute joke right now. They're a bum-ass quarterback. I don't know what's happened to Deshaun Watson, but he ain't it. Amari Cooper is wanting out. He's redone his contract. He's worth less than $1 million for this year. Bro, make that phone call, give up a 4th, and call it a day, and get someone that can get some damn separation. Because this ain't it. And you have speed. This is what I don't get. You got Curtis Samuel that runs a 4-3. You got MVS that's supposed to be a burner, stretch the field down the field. And MVS gets one target. And the one target that he got, he caught it, and he let that boy just smack it out of his hands. You grab that thing and catch that thing, man. Oh boy, this team, this Bills team, I love them. You know that meme where you got that umbrella and you're like, yo, you effed up. I still like you, but I ain't gonna let you get wet. Yo, that's how I feel right now. But I almost want to pull the damn thing and make them get wet under the rain, just so they understand. Fam, like, get it together. Get it together, man. We're 0-2. We're about to potentially go into the Jets defense is a damn good defense. They may not have it all together on offense, but it's a damn good defense. And you want to go into the Jets with this piss poor offense? Yo, you might as well just say we're 0-3, 3-3. How things quickly change. 3-0 to 3-2. And the Texans are middle of the pack defense. It was like they lightened shit up. Come on.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And going into last week,
gosh,
Baltimore was really struggling on the back end too. I mean, for God's sakes, Cincinnati put up 38 points today on the Ravens, and they should have they missed the field goal to beat them in overtime. The Bills
lost.
put up 10 last week. Yeah, Cincinnati Bengals lost. They missed the field goal. Derrick Henry had a 60-yard run immediately after the Ravens won the game. But the Bengals, who have had insane struggles through the first month of the year here, they put up 38 on them. I mean, at the end of the day here, when you go back and look at this box score, it is actually incredible. It is incredible that the Bills only lost this game by 3 points. Allen had a completion percentage of 30% with a passer rating of 56. The yards per attempt, this is what you were wondering earlier, right? The yards per attempt, Rico, 4. 4. So you currently are. This is the problem. Early on in the year, that seemed to be what was working. That's been taken away. They never had anything down the field to begin with. And now it's just every single drive, it just feels like they have nothing offensively. And if they can't get Cook to get them 5-6 yards on the first down carry, then it seems like the drive is chalked up. That's why at one point in the game, they had 3 consecutive 3-and-outs.
Let me jump in on this. I got Chris Fiorella. Salute to my man Chris Fiorella coming for a comment. He goes, "Hey, you're calling Devontae too steep, but complaining because MVS doesn't have more targets. What are we talking about here, Rico? I love you, but Jesus, hold on. Devontae Adams, MVS, and you think I'm asking for more targets for MVS? Are you kidding me? I'm saying that we don't use MVS to where his strengths are, which is his speed, stretch the field. You weren't listening to what I'm saying. I'm saying get him the targets because has he shown it all offseason? Damn near we were thinking that he might get cut because Shavers was outplaying him. How are you going to compare Devontae? Boy, please, man. Fiorella, sit your ass out. Sit this one out. That's what I'm saying. Sit this one out. And
that's why when you see it too, like when you were mentioning Allen having to roll to the right as much as he does, you see it. The reason he does, I mean, if you look downfield on some of those plays, there is just nothing there. And I would have thought after last week, because it was the same story last week. I mean, offensively, this was the exact same thing as last week. The only difference is that, the only difference really is that the defense put him in more favorable position to get field goals this time around as opposed to last week. But you pretty much have the same execution here. Last week, they had that incredible deep ball to Shakir, was it? And then they wound up punching it in. Allen on the run there, throws it up for grabs, and he wound up finding an open Shakir. They score on that today. The 4th and 6, an amazing play by Keon Coleman on the broken tackle, and then he takes it into the end zone. Outside of that, there is there is almost nothing to show offensively, and there just has not seemed to be any adjustment whatsoever. You have nothing down the field. And even attempting it at this point just doesn't. Their best attempt down the field, it seems like currently, is throwing it up for grabs to Coleman, which you could argue they don't even do that enough. But then other times, Rico, when they do have those, that's why the Allen misses on those deep balls stick out the most, because they get so few of them. And when you don't capitalize on them, you just know you're not going to be getting another opportunity like that again. Like the Mac Hollins throw today. They just never had an opportunity like that again. They never had a guy that open again on a deep shot. And when you don't capitalize, it's going to hurt you.
Let me tell you something. Josh Allen's deep ball percentage, I haven't looked it up. I'm going to try to look it up. I can assure you it's probably god awful, because the amount of times I've seen Josh miss on guys that are open in this league. I don't want to say wide open, but open. And I'm talking about a yard or 2 yards. Last year, he must have missed a good half a dozen deep shots. And a few of them went to where the Diggs, where Diggs doesn't get enough separation. They were missing on those. And for those that want to talk about, get off of Josh Allen, he's doing the best he can. Shut up. Bro, You can't sit here and tell me Josh Allen cannot be criticized. Don't tell me Josh can't be criticized. Knock it off. If you don't want to criticize, this ain't the channel for you, my guy or my lady. Go somewhere else where they praise Josh Allen all day. It wasn't his fault. He doesn't have receivers. Bro, the receivers might be looking at him saying, fam, did you not see me? Yo, Mac Hollins, I'm right here. Josh got to be better on this deep ball. That's his strength. He's got to be better on the deep ball. And it can't be when a play is broken and Khalil Shakir breaks off and that's considered a deep ball. 49 yards today, like 35 of that was Keon Coleman. He's got to be better on that, man. And don't tell me he doesn't have the time. He does have the time. He's got to be better. I got sick of that, man. Yo, get off his D. Get off it, man. He can't be beyond approach. You cannot tell me you can't get after Josh Allen and get him to be better. If he's a realist, if he's a real G, he'll get on that mic and say, yo, I played like garbage today. I was buns. The whole team was buns, but I was major buns. I didn't do enough. I'm paid. If he was Mitch Trubisky, I could say, it's Mitch Trubisky. I expect it. Nah, you're one of the best in the game. We keep making you the number 2 quarterback in this game. Did you look like a number 2 quarterback in this game?
This is the other thing too I noticed today. I got to go back. I got to go back and rewatch it just to see the amount of these. There were a handful of balls today though where it felt like guys were wide open and it was skipped off the ground. That isn't something I've seen from Allen in a long time. I'm just wondering if his confidence is a bit shaken just because he's out there knowing what's around him right now. Of course, isn't obviously the best. They're on the other side of things. It feels like the defense. They were able to step up in the second half today, but in the first half, they were getting walked on. Last week, they got walked on, and it just felt like there was no flow there, and maybe that's factoring in because there were a couple balls today that were skipped off the floor too, not just overthrown. But of course, when you get to a 9-30 mark, that is the telltale sign of just there's no chemistry between this wide receiving core and the quarterback, and there was nothing schemed up, it felt like, to overcome that today. It felt like the first 3 weeks, they were able to overcome the lack of talent that they had because it was the things Brady was implementing were working. Last week, the Ravens seemed to take that away. The Bills didn't have an answer. They brought that into today again, and it once again also felt like there was no answer. Multiple times throwing the ball around the line of scrimmage where it would either go for a loss or a drop. There was just, it felt like all day offensively, this team had no identity, and we're just hoping they'd be able to move the sticks and then try to find a way to overcome the next set of downs. That's what it felt like. It doesn't feel anymore like when the Bills take over offensively, you don't feel anymore this sense of, all right, we got the ball, let's move it, let's get into scoring territory. Now you're thinking, man, can we just get a first down? And the difference, this is the craziest thing to me. The reason we were so bought in the first 3 weeks, it's not because they were winning. They scored 34, 31, and 47. It wasn't like they were just eking these games out. They were scoring at will. So the drop-off now from that to this is crazy to me. I don't understand how you can go from scoring that much to basically not being able to move the football. You now have 2 consecutive weeks where you're held under 300 total yards. And Allen has been taken out of the game, essentially, because there either isn't the talent around him isn't being schemed up to be productive for him. And on top of it, he just isn't playing all that great football the last 2 weeks either, especially today.
Let me tell you something.
Man, I don't know.
Let me tell you something. And here's another thing. And for those that are on us because we are critical of our team, that's going to happen. We praise them when they need to be praised. And we will be critical when there needs to be some criticisms going towards the team, especially in a loss like this, the way we lost today, where we gave the game away, essentially. We really did give the game away. We go 1 for 3 in the red zone. But like I've been saying the last 3 weeks, we cannot win games when we go 3 for 14 on third down conversions.
It's unreal. We're
converting less than 30%. You can't win games this way, man. You're not even giving yourself.
Factor that in with the other side of the ball, Rico, the other teams getting these like last week, there was a series where the Ravens had a 3rd and 11 conversion and a 3rd and 14. How many third down conversions today for the Houston Texans did they get that were like 3rd and 7 or longer? I mean, towards the end, it felt like it was a given. It felt like it was a layup every time. So you factor both those things in. You can't win football games that way.
The Texans went 8 for 16. That goes to tell you 50%. That's high. That's high in this league, man. We were operating
what the average yard to go was on those downs by any chance?
No, I'll have to take a look at that. That's a great question. But
because it felt like 16, a lot.
It did feel like because he was just dumping them off, and they were just climbing, getting these plays down. There was at least
this defense cannot defend the screen. It cannot defend the screen. This defense, it's unbelievable. Can't defend the screen, and the Bills can't run a screen offensively either.
Third down efficiency, 3 for 14. Folks, be real with yourself. Be real with what you're seeing around the league. You can't win games converting 3 for 14 on third down conversions. It cannot happen multiple games in a row. You're not converting. It's like you don't know what you're doing. We can't always be in 3rd and 1 where it's a push-tush away and we can get a first down that way. Bro, there's going to have a time where we're 3rd and 14. There's going to become a time when there's 3rd and 9, right? Obviously, we want to be in better yards per play on that mark. We want to be in better third down situations. But 3 out of 14? Nah, we can't do that. And here's the thing. When you don't convert on your third downs, you have less opportunity to convert and do things. So this is my big problem. So, I'll let you jump in.
Well, we got a lot of people in the chat that want to jump in as well. So let's get to your super chats, and we're going to do that in just a moment. Before we do, we want to let you know that this portion of the episode is brought to you by our friends over at Underdog, our new sponsor here on the Buffalo Fanatics YouTube channel. The year is in full swing, and football is here to stay until February. Underdog has you covered, getting in on the game more than just watching it. Underdog last year had over 1 million fans across 33 states get in the game by making picks on Underdog. You can win up to 1,000 times your money just by choosing higher or lower on your favorite player stats like touchdowns, passing yards, etc. So today, if you would have taken lower on just about everything the Bills had offensively, you probably would have been in pretty good shape if you were taking players on the Bills in Underdog Fantasy. Making picks on Underdog is straightforward, and signing up is even easier. Just head over to Underdog's simple-to-use mobile app or UnderdogFantasy.com. Sign up with the promo code BMafia, and Underdog will give you a free pick to use on your first cash pick'em entry, plus up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you deposit. Once again, that's Underdog Fantasy, promo code BMafia, to claim your new customer special of a free pick and your deposit offer. You must be 18 plus, 21 plus in Massachusetts, Arizona, 19 plus in Alabama and Nebraska, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Void in Colorado. Concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org. In Arizona, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP, 1-800-639-8783, or text NEXT STEP to 53342. In New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY at 467-369. Let's get to your super chats here, Rico. I'm dying to hear what the folks have to say, because this is one of those
a lot of people hating on us. I'll tell you right now.
Well, listen, this is what happens. And I want to say to everybody, this is what happens. People in the chat are going to get upset with us. We're going to get upset with each other. We might get upset with the chat. This is what happens when you have a game like you just did, because there's so many areas to be upset with. I feel like one person might be more upset with another area, and then you wind up arguing about it. At the end of the day, here's the one commonality we all share right now. We're upset about what we just saw on the football field. That was a bad football team for the most part on display this afternoon. That was a bad football team on display certainly last week. And what has people probably the most puzzled is that was a phenomenal football team out on the field the first 3 weeks. And I've been seeing it argued in the chat, and I understand it. Were the opponents the first 3 weeks not the Ravens or the Texans? I agree with you wholeheartedly. Yeah, the Cardinals, they're on their way up, but they're not a great team. We know that Miami certainly is not a great team, especially against the Bills. And without Tua, they're a shell of themselves completely. They barely pulled one out today against New England. And then Jacksonville, we know how they look. They were 1-9 going into today, but I will say they wound up scoring 37 today, and they did beat Indianapolis. I mean, Jacksonville is certainly not a great team. You can't even really argue at this point they're a good team, but that's a team that's had the Bills' number. My argument here is, yes, those teams weren't great. They might not even be good, but the Bills were absolutely stacking numbers against them. And there's a difference in this league, whether you're playing a great team or a good team. A win is a win. When you are winning in the fashion the Bills were winning the first 3 weeks, and I understand the first game was super close, but in the second half, the Bills turned it on defensively and they turned it on offensively, and they had their foot on the gas for 2 consecutive weeks. It's not that the foot's been taken off the gas. It's almost like the foot's been taken off and immediately pounded onto the brakes. That's what doesn't make any sense. We had talked about this. We knew going into this stretch, the Bills were not going to remain undefeated. We knew losses were going to come. But when you get blown out like you did last week in an unprecedented fashion, that was the worst loss the Bills had in 43 consecutive football games. And then you seem to kind of carry that same vibe into today. Offensively, it just looked uninspired. It looked dead inside. And then you cough it away at the end in a position where you're pretty much served it up. I mean, Rico, when they called that intentional grounding, it just felt like the stars were aligning because Terrell Bernard picks off Stroud on a target to Diggs. That right there, you get the strip sack. The offense can't do anything. You set them up in perfect spot. They cannot get in the end zone. They go 3 and out instantly. And then you get that blessing of a intentional grounding. The Bills can take it to overtime. They just give the ball right back to Houston and put them in the spot they would have been without the intentional grounding. So at the end of the day, there's so much to be frustrated with. Let's talk about what you guys are frustrated with here in the chat. Richie Fresh coming in. He's saying McDermott is toast. Not all him, but all you had to do is kneel on the 1 yard line for overtime. McDermott has screwed up in 13 seconds and now 16 seconds. When do we say enough? We got to spend some time specifically on this one, Rico, because you and I, and the chat knows this, I think we love McDermott more than others. I'm not sitting here today. What I said earlier, I said a fireable offense. I'm trying to express to you how bad I thought that was. I also don't know if any other coach is going to be able to allow that defense to do the things that they did today to hold Houston to 23 points. Now, at the end, with McDermott running that prevent defense, I don't understand it. For the life of me, I cannot understand it. The clock management, once again, it seems like that's something that we bring up at least a few times every single year where it costs a game. The not challenging of the Kincaid catch, once again, you could be as staunch as possible in the chat as much as you want. That wasn't a catch, whatever. It was way too close of a play to not challenge in a game where the Bills could not do anything offensively. And as you mentioned, Rico, it was right before the half. Who cares if you burn the timeout? How often do you use 2 challenges in a game anyways? You make that challenge there. And then to kind of sit and weigh on the idea of challenging the James Cook catch just to then have to burn a timeout in that situation to then throw the ball away. This was an awful game for McDermott in a variety of different ways. But there was also moments, Rico, where you're wondering, does anybody else have the defense prepared in the second half to do what this defense did under McDermott? There are these moments, though, where you just can't help but think, why does it go the way that it does? But to me, Rico, it was more offensively today that I had that feeling, not defensively. How do you feel about it?
No, you're absolutely right, because we came into this year knowing that defense is not going to be the same with the amount of players that we lost. We lost 2 veteran players at the safety position. I can't stress that enough. You may not be as athletic and as quick and you know what I mean and physical as you once were when you were younger, but your mind is there. So you know where to be, the right places to be, the right calls to make, the adjustments to make, because that veteran, that experience gives you that. We lost that in 2 players in 1 shot. That's number 1. So yeah, we got a little less athletic, but we lost a lot of ability back there. So now you lose Milan, you lose Terrell Bernard. He comes back. We knew that we were going to have some deficiencies on defense. We knew it. Von Miller coming back, is he going to be the same or not? We knew it. Offensively, though, James Cook come back. Kincaid gonna come back. Keon Coleman, we have some great things. Khalil Shakir, we were able to move on so easily from and take that $31 million dead cap easily from Stephon Diggs because we saw really good things coming from Khalil Shakir. So we're like, we can do this. Plus, we got Josh Allen. And then it proved well because we're putting up 30 freaking points a game in the first 3 games. So you're like, okay, we got something. So of course you notice that offensively we had an opportunity to really do big things. But this game clearly proves that we're not all there yet. And that goes along the season. I mean, look, Look at all the other teams that are struggling right now. Look, Cincinnati is a good offense. They put up 38 points today and still lost.
They are 1-4 now, by the way. 1-4.
They're 1-4 right now. And that was a team that was supposed to compete because Joe Shiesty was coming back and going to do big things, right? There are some teams that are not doing well right now that were supposed to be doing well, and they're not. Look at the Bills. The Bills right now are not. We're 3-2 at this point. And right now, some could say, shoot, I told you so. They weren't going to make the playoff. They're a 7-win team, a 9-win team, and their true colors are showing now. We're done in September. September football is great. We could do some big things. It could ruin a lot of seasons early. Just look at the Jacksonville Jaguars. They're 0-4. They lose today. They won. I'm not even sure.
They won,
right?
So they're 1-4 now as well.
Good Lord, they won. They needed that one.
Yeah, good for that. That was their first win since November of last year. So
there you go. So we could be in those situations, but it looks bad now. Can we get it fixed? Of course we can. We have the elite quarterback, but we need him to be on top of his game. We really do. So listen, man, you could chalk it up to a bad week yet again, but offensively, we could have been so much better. We could have been so much better. But you know what? At the end of the day, got to get the job done. You got to get the job done, period.
That's simply the way it is. And I'm seeing I know our Chiefs friends have been waiting in the wings to come in. And I'll just say this, and this is where I'll give credit. There have been multiple games this season already, maybe not as bad, but Mahomes was bad against the Bengals. It was bad. Mahomes has not looked good at all this year. The difference is that we talk about this all the time. It's been the biggest difference between the Bills and the Chiefs in general. It's these moments where it feels like in this game right here, this 1:00 afternoon game, that feels like a game, Rico, that if the Chiefs were in the same position, the Chiefs somehow find a way to win that game. The Buffalo Bills somehow find a way to lose that game. That's the biggest difference. Allen was awful today. He was terrible today. They're 3-2, though. In the 2 games that Allen wasn't able to do much, they lose those games. Today, we sit here, the Chiefs play tomorrow against the Saints. They're a 5.5-point favorite. They're undefeated. In Mahomes, half the season so far, he's been a middling quarterback at best. The difference right now has been the difference basically all along here. And I think that's what the big frustration is, of course, what Richie is bringing up here. It just always feels like in these type of moments, like last year against the Eagles, right? Or last year against the Chiefs in the divisional, the 13-second game, of course. Today, I mean, the list goes on and on. Yep. It just feels like there are these moments. Today was particularly egregious to me, though, because it felt like the Bills were given an insane amount of moments. When you factor in how bad they were in the first half and then consider the interception, the fumble recovery that put them right in the red zone, the intentional grounding, and then the ability to take it to overtime, and every single one of them were squandered, Rico, that is where I think the frustration just goes to it overflows. The boiling point gets to a point where you just can't help but lose your mind. And of course, McDermott factors into that. And I also think that Joe Brady on the offensive side of things, I mean, because if you're looking at it, if you break it down today, what cost the Bills more today? It was 100% the offense. I don't even think it's remotely arguable. The third down defense for the Bills today was egregious. It was egregious. They still put the Bills in position to win that game. And the offense seemed to squander every opportunity given to them. That's how I see it.
And before we move on to the next super chat, it's two key things, right? You normally, when you don't turn the ball over and you force 2 turnovers, the pendulum swings towards the Bills, and they should have won this game because we didn't turn the ball over. We took the ball from them, and we gave ourselves opportunities to try to win this game. We just couldn't capitalize. We couldn't capitalize. We're 1 for 3 in the red zone, and I got to look to see what we've done so far in the red zone this year. I can tell you we're probably not great. We're probably not great in the red zone, but I'll have to take a look. And secondly, when we don't convert on third downs, we don't give ourselves time of possession with the football. We lost time of possession today by 4 or 5 minutes today. 26 minutes to 33 minutes.
I would have guessed so about 7 minutes. Okay, so that makes
so we 26:50 to 30. I mean, we got to be better. We got to be better on that front. So I get it. Let's go to Richie Fresh. Richie Fresh came back and says, has to be said, this coach won't get us a Lombardi.
So he's bringing this up, and I'm seeing some comments in here, and one that I think goes along with what Richie is saying here.
What's that?
Is our man? Where am I? I'm looking for it right now, because I think that this is ultimately the biggest frustration. It's the South. He's coming in here saying, you guys are missing the big picture. It stops and ends with McDermott. I don't care what he can do with the defense. If it hasn't brought me a Super Bowl, McDermott is absolutely the problem. See, here's where I struggle. I see what you're saying. I also think you are kind of just disregarding in a simple sentence. I don't care what he can do with the defense. You would 100% care what he could do with the defense when that's no longer in existence. I understand wholeheartedly what you are saying and the idea that everybody else is thinking that McDermott can't win the Lombardi. There has not been a more winning team other than the Chiefs in the league in the last 5 seasons than the Buffalo Bills. They have been, based on the one and only stat that matters in this league, based on winning, the Bills have been the second best football team in the league during that time span. It's the moments, of course, in the playoffs where it hasn't gone their way. It hasn't gone anybody else's way but Kansas City. I understand what you're saying here, however. You're saying it's the big picture. But what I think is being overlooked in these moments, the big picture, this Bills team is what it is in the big picture, I think, in large part due to McDermott. And it's these other moments that then make you think the bigger picture shrinks down a bit and you focus in on the blemishes that therefore, because there is a loss involved with it, feel like the broader picture, if that makes any sense. To me, the reason the culture is the way it is, the reason these guys play the way that they do on a given basis, I mean, at the end of the day, Rico, last week was an anomaly. This team played like utter shit today for the most part, and they should have brought the game to overtime with a chance to win. That, to me, has a lot to do with McDermott gets out of these guys. Now, there's also moments today where you look at it and say, I think McDermott wholeheartedly blew this game, and I completely agree with you to a certain extent. But to sit here, I think, after this and disregard everything else and solely focus on that, that's what we have to keep in mind. I understand the idea around not being able to get over the hump with this guy, but I just don't know if the hump is even achievable without what he has brought to the table. I mean, once again today, this defense in the second half, this game was on pace to be 34-6. And before you sit here and tell me that wasn't going to happen, it happened 7 days ago. They turned it around on the defensive side of things today. This offense didn't have a prayer all game long. And that's what it came down to me.
Michael Shapani says, every season this happens. When will it change? It changes when we get more when we get more consistent. And right now, we're not playing consistent ball right now. Once we start to kind of find ourselves and find our niche, which is still early in the season, we haven't quite found our niche, or we've hit a rut. We've hit a 2-game rut now, and we just got to get back on track. And I think we will. Eric Pete comes in and brings something interesting. He says, my fault for this game is the receiving core. He says, can't separate, can't run the route tree. Receivers have drop timing issues. Receivers are not understanding their role. Samuel, ghost. We need Adams. I'll defer to you on this one. What say you about the personnel at the receiver room? Is it enough, or do we chalk this to a bad chemistry game with Josh? Josh will turn it around. These boys will get better, and Josh will get the best out of these players. Or do we actually need to go out and get someone?
I guess the better question would be, how much longer are you willing to spend in finding out whether or not this wide receiver core is good enough? That's probably the question. You had 3. At the end of the day, the result of the receiving core has been the exact same through 5 weeks. 3 games, it resulted in W's. 2 weeks, it resulted in losses. But at the end of the day, there had never been a receiver with more than 6 catches. There was never a receiver with more than, 75, 80 yards. It has basically been the same. It has now gotten progressively worse, and you take Shakir out, and then you factor in, I understand a lot of people in here are saying that Allen can't be great because of what's around him. Even if he had the best of the best out there today, it just felt like Allen had a bad day today. The unfortunate reality is the Bills, with what they have offensively, cannot afford for Josh Allen to have a bad day. That's the problem. And when Allen does have a bad day, it looks 10 times worse because what's around him isn't elevating him. He has to elevate everybody around him. And every athlete is going to have an off night, an off game, an off couple of weeks. We've been more lucky than not. For the most part, Allen's on 85%, 90% of the time. Today, he wasn't. And then you factor in no Shakir. You factor in a couple of missed plays, a couple of bad play calling decisions, in my opinion, on the offensive side of things. It all kind of spiraled into a loss. So when you're looking at this question, and it's basically asking, do we need Adams? Ask yourself, are you willing to spend more time to find out if we do? Or are you willing to say, I've seen enough? You and I said yesterday, let me see what happens today. Yep. And what I saw today was not a single receiver break 2 receptions. So to me, I think that question answers itself. If Brandon Beane can somehow make a play for Davante Adams, it 100% needs to happen. You see that this team can be good enough, Rico. They can be. Yep. I wonder what it would look like if they were able to pull that off. I don't know how you could not want to be in that camp right now.
I truly believe every receiver, every quarterback needs their X receiver. I mean, it sounds cute and everybody eats, everyone get a plate. It's border house rules. F all that. There's an alpha dog for every quarterback, and you need an alpha dog. You need one, right? Joe Burrow ain't putting up 38 points without T. Higgins and Jamar Chase in that game. Sorry, it's not happening.
I mean, yeah, Chase went off today.
It went off, and T. Higgins had 2 touchdowns himself. You're not doing it, right? And if you don't have that means you don't have the quarterback and you're not competing. You need a quarterback that has their dog.
Can I just say, by the way, I just want to say this. Jamar Chase today had 10 receptions for 193 yards and 2 touchdowns. I just wanted to say that real quick. That's against the same team last week the Bills could barely score a point against. So
which brings me to this point here, because I'm reading signified notes. As I hate to say it, but we need Davante. Oh God, I can't create more separation than I can create more separation than our receivers can. We need an X receiver who's a route runner. Okay. So when it comes down to comments like this by our guy Signified Knows, Josh Allen, obviously we know he's talented. Does he miss Diggs? Having him play against Diggs' team, and I'm not talking about Diggs the player, Diggs the person. I'm talking about Diggs, the elite receivers that he once had. Because when you can count on someone, what a wonderful feeling it feels like. So I know he's going to get open. I know he's going to win his one-on-one. I'm looking his way because that's a dog. Josh today couldn't look at anybody. There wasn't one guy that could say, "Let me look my way, this guy's way." He couldn't. And that's what got him running out of the pocket so many times today. That's what got him hurt today, because he's running out of the pocket, trying to make plays, trying to hold on to as much as he can, and boom, hurt. Bro, this experiment was cute. We tried it. And like you said, the question is, how much more time are you willing to invest in this experiment?
And investment is the key word, because you are investing each week. You are investing your record on the line. You are putting that on the line in terms of finding out.
And then the question becomes, and be real. I'm going to ask you this. I'm putting you on the spot.
Yeah.
Do you see Khalil Shakir as receiver 1? Like X receiver, the alpha dog, that's the dude.
No. Khalil Shakir is never getting 10 catches for 193 yards and 2 touchdowns. I think Khalil Shakir is exactly the 2 that we always wanted Gabe Davis to be. That's what it seems like to me.
I love that you said that, because I completely feel the same way. I think he's a complimentary piece.
Yes, and a very good one. Yes.
A very good one. You put him aside with a guy that is a true X, he will thrive. He will absolutely thrive, because attention will be given to X player. But right now we don't have that. Unless Keon Coleman turns it around, which I can't see it happening anytime soon, bro, we're gonna struggle. We're gonna struggle offensively, and we're just gonna have these type of games if this continues. Obviously, it's gonna get better when Khalil gets back, but you need more, because when push comes to shove, you're gonna have to have the dogs on your team. Just look at all the playoff teams right now that are playing good ball right now. Go over to Minnesota, see what they got. They got Addison, they got a good running game in Jones, and they got Justin Jefferson. Oh, by the way, they got TJ Hawkinson as well. Like, you need your weapons for your dogs. And Sam Darnold was a high draft pick, and he's found an offensive coordinator that seems to understand, and he gets it, and they're in one right now. They're lockstep. Right now, Brady needs to dig a little deeper into that bag, and Josh obviously has to play better. But this X receiver business, we're not out of it. We need to be in it, and unless we're ready to just give this all up. Because right now the Jets may trade for Devontae Adams, so it'll give him Devontae, Garrett Wilson, and I think they got Conklin, and they got the two backs that they have back there.
Lazard, who's been playing well.
Lazard, I left Lazard out for a reason. I think he's all right. He's all right.
He's scored in almost every one of their games, I think.
He has. I have him on fantasy, so I know. But it's interesting to put that out there. Signify Note says, Josh Allen is the best player we've ever had, and we're wasting his prime with shit coaching. I mean,
so I want to talk about something real quick because I'm interested. I'm pulling up the advanced stats here, and I'm stunned by this. So today, and this is back to what we were talking about earlier about this deep ball game. And I wouldn't have guessed this, and maybe it's because the majority of these passes hit the ground. Rico, this stat is actually insane, what I'm about to tell you. Josh Allen targeted downfield often with an average of 12.5 air yards per attempt. That was his most since last season. Are you ready for this?
Mm-hmm.
1 of 15 of those throws were completed. On balls of 10-plus air yards, Josh Allen was 1 of 15, the lowest completion percentage on such passes in Allen's career. That is a completion percentage of just over 6%. So I'm stunned by this. I think looking back at no. What I'm stunned by is did it feel like there was the most deep ball attempts of his career since last year? Did it feel like they threw the ball down the field more than they have all year? Not really. The reason it didn't is because of how unsuccessful it was. So we're looking at this, and this is wild because that right there just goes to show you that they have nothing down the field. Therefore, as the game progresses, it's easier for the defense to take away Cook. It's easier for the defenses to scheme around the short passes that were working really well for the Bills early on in this season. I mean, obviously, we know it hasn't been great down the field for Allen. Rico, 1 of 15 on passes of 10-plus air yards. So, to me, I guess the question is posed, is that on Allen? Is that on the receivers? Would Devontae Adams dramatically change that? I don't know. But that is that's pretty wild.
I'm not shocked because I saw it all last year. I saw it. There were times where and that was the frustration coming from Diggs, where he'd be like, dude, I'm being labeled like I can't separate anymore, and I'm the problem. But fam, I've been doing my job. Granted, when he dropped that egregious football in Kansas City, I get it. We all get it. He dropped that ball right on that bicep. I get it. But there are many times last year where Josh would just miss a guy straight up. Either he's overthrowing, even when Emmanuel Sanders was here, it was happening then. So it's just this deep ball thing. It's got to be better from Josh. His touch has to be better. All of that has to be better. His intermediate throws are bomb. They're fantastic. But we want to hit on that big deep throw. We got to, man. 1 for 15? Golly, that's craziness to me. But you got to have the weapons. You got to have the
That's insane.
You got to have the tools. You got to have the tools.
And then you were talking about the Coleman production too, and I'm also wondering, like, we keep saying like he's got to step up. I'm just wondering, like, has he even been given that big of an opportunity to step up? He's got 2 major plays on very limited amount of involvement early on in this season. His 2 touchdowns came in games where that was his only catch. But you're talking about 3 of those passes were at the end of the game there. This is why, to me, that stat right there, to me, just that completely solidifies my thought on the final ending of that game there. Allen could not hit water falling out of a boat in the deep ball game this game, and they threw the ball 3 consecutive times well past the sticks to end that football game. That to me comes down to Brady. You got to know the tone of the game. We constantly praise him for, like, last year against the Cowboys, just keeping with the run because it was working so well. It felt like there were moments tonight, Rico, where the run game was going well, and then all of a sudden they would just go away from it. Or the run game was going well, and they wouldn't even try to implement a play action. They would just go empty for no reason. Or they would try to scheme in a screen pass as opposed to continuing to run the football. I know he ran the ball 20 times, once again, like I said, but Allen, 4 carries tonight, and I don't know if one of them was a designed run, really. So it didn't feel like they reached into their we got to win this game type bag. And I feel like Brady's been pretty good at doing that ever since he's taken over. It feels like when they need a moment, Brady finds a way to get the most out of what these guys are best at. I didn't feel that way at all today.
Listen, it's called film study. It's called personnel, right? They know what they got. Okay, he's not a speed guy, right? These players, they watch film. I know the type of routes that they give Keon Coleman, their comebacks. He's not a deep ball guy. So when I'm covering him, I know these are in the 3 games they played this year. These are the routes that they like. You don't think they do these things? If you are a well-rounded receiver, it's much harder to watch film. Like you're watching film, but it's much harder to guard because this guy's got a bag of tricks and everything. Keon Coleman's limited to what he can do, and just go by what kind of route they make him run. Comebacks, maybe a jump ball, and it's limited. He's limited. He was limited coming out of college. He's limited right now. And we're getting Mr. Limited. I'm not saying Mr. Unlimited. He is Mr. Limited right now. So now you go to Curtis Samuel. And look, I don't know what this guy does. He's a gadget guy. All right. So when he's in the backfield, this is what they do for him. Screenplay. He's a screen guy. So this is the formation they run. Bring it in because we know exactly what's going on. Fan, I'm not saying that we're looking predictable, but the personnel is allowing us to be predictable because these guys are limited on what they can do. They're limited on speed. They're limited on everything. So when you have a guy like Stephon Diggs that can do it all, that can run all the routes, you gotta respect it. And right now, I don't think they're respecting the offense. I just don't. That's just my take. I'm sticking to it. I don't think they're respected. And if you ask any DB, and I listen to a lot of these podcasts and these old former DBs and Hall of Fame guys, and when they used to watch film and how they watch film, they'd look at what kind of routes this guy runs. In this formation, what route does he run? There's real film study guys that are out there that really look at the stuff. So when you come out with this Mickey Mouse offense today, of course they're going to figure that shit out. Oh, they're running a screen. There you go. Well, there's a result. 9 freaking completions. 9 completions. Oh, you're being too harsh on this team. Don't care. That's just what it is. That's what they present to us. That's what's out there. What's
Eric saying, can't have everyone eat when everyone starves. The Bills wide receiver core is trying to turn chicken shit into chicken salad. No team is scared of our pass game because we have no intermediate or deep game. So I'm also looking at it again today, by the way, and I'm also noticing that it was a combination of things. And this is the problem, is that when you don't have the wide receiver core that other teams do, you have to be really good in other areas, better than other teams in other areas to overcome that. That, of course, means Allen having to play well. He didn't. That, of course, means the offensive line having to play well. They didn't play well today either. They didn't play well last week either. That was the other thing. The offensive line has been a strength for these Bills since the start of last year. Not necessarily the case the last 2 weeks against 2 of the better teams that they've faced. So when you're factoring in the offensive line not stepping up, not having the talent in the pass game, and then Allen not playing well, I don't know how you can expect, and that's what to me made this all the more insane that they were in a position to actually win this game today. And that's what highlighted the coaching to me so much, because once again, if you go back to the Chiefs, it just feels like the Chiefs find themselves in these moments where you're like, man, the Chiefs have played like shit all day long today, but the defense has done enough, right? Mahomes hasn't stepped up, but you just feel like they're going to wind up winning at some point, and they do. With the Bills, it feels the opposite. It just feels like in these moments, how are we going to wind up pissing this one away?
Quick question for you. You have the advanced stats up. What's it look like when Josh's attempts? How many of those attempts he had today were over 15 yards?
I don't have the 15 yards.
We'll have to look that up.
The one that was 10 yards. He averaged 12 and a half air yards per attempt, and he had 15 passes of 10 or more air yards. So I don't have 15, but 10's a close example. The majority, half of his throws is the best way to put it. Half of his throws today were past the sticks. Only one of them was caught.
Okay. Interesting. Oh, interesting. But Eric Peak, appreciate you, man. Eric Peak says the bright spots today. Tyler Bass going 2 for 2 for field goals. Gotta love it. And we have linebackers were a plus today. I think the linebackers did a hell of a job today. Dwayne Carter, not bad, and Bobby Babbage. Do you refute those? Do you feel good about the bright spots that Eric Peak is talking about?
Yeah, I mean, I thought obviously Bernard being back was a major factor in the game. Bass, yeah, made the kicks that were asked of him, which that's what you want. That's what you want.
Yep.
Now, Babbage, I mean, I will say that the Bills today defensively, there were two areas. I mean, once again, we're nitpicking a bit on the defense. I think what they were able to do in the second half, especially the big plays, the Bills, they were the definition of like bending but not breaking today. It felt like they made two massive plays. You could argue more than that. They made multiple massive plays today, but there were two areas that they wound up getting burnt on pretty bad this afternoon, Rico. One was the third down, as you mentioned. The Texans converted, what was it, 8 of 16? And the majority of them felt like they were long distance third downs in crucial moments. That was a huge blow to this Buffalo Bills team this afternoon. The other thing, the Bills got smoked on the blitz today. Smoked. CJ Stroud faced 10 blitzes today, Rico. He was 9 of 10 for 139 yards. Second highest completion percentage under the blitz in his career. And that also resulted in one of the touchdowns as well. So there were two areas that the Bills did not do well at all in today. And that, of course, could factor into no Von Miller and no Ed Oliver. But I thought it was getting better towards the end. And then you really saw that. That's where I thought you saw the change on this defense. They were getting towards Stroud towards the end of the game. You also have to give credit. CJ Stroud played absolutely phenomenal today. He navigated the pocket incredibly. Absolutely. I thought he played a terrific football game. You want to know, to me, though, there's one moment in the game, and it was the credit to Stroud, and really it felt like the momentum, or it felt like the game kind of switched. Do you remember there was 13 and a half minutes left in the fourth quarter, and the Texans are backed up against their own goal line? It's 3rd and 9, and he had that unbelievably perfectly thrown ball to the tight end on the right side of the field, split between 3 Bills defenders.
Buddy. Right in there.
It was unreal. So there were these moments like in the game where it felt like the Bills defense set themselves up for success. And I feel like throughout the day, they really did a great job of keeping this game at bay. But it was the moments like that. I wouldn't sit here and say my overwhelming bright spot today was Babbage, but I don't think he had a bad game. This defense definitely did enough for the Bills to win today. That's how I see it.
So here's my thing, and I like everything that Eric P just said. I like Bass, solid game today. He did what he was supposed to do. I'm not gonna give him credit for it. That's your job. Do it, right? Linebackers, we'll get into that in just a little bit. Dwayne Carter, obviously, some defensive pieces. It was nice to see a bright spot out of them. That's the best I'll say. Babbage, not a great start to begin with, but I think he found a rhythm in this game. He kind of figured out what Bobby Sloak was doing on the offensive side of the ball, and he put a shutdown to it. It's too bad that Joe Brady couldn't figure out what, DeMarco Ryan and that defensive coordinator were doing to us on this thing. But altogether, I think great. I think who had an amazing game, and I said it, I tweeted it, and I didn't care because I felt this guy's a dog. Dorian Williams was an absolute dog on the field. He was smacking cats left, right, center. He led the team with 12 tackles, but 11 of them were solo. He is developing into a stud. These two, Bernard and Dorian Williams, they play together a little bit more. That's a great combination. And then obviously when we get Milano back, the situation will play itself out. But my goodness, it's nice to have a nice stud on the field. Great.
And that to me feels like the difference between this offense and the defense, where the defense will constantly have these unsung heroes, like you just mentioned. You don't really see that from the offense. Like we anticipated going into this year that Shakir would be the main target. That has been the case. Yep. But you really haven't had that moment where you're like, this guy was he was the difference maker offensively. The only answer for that thus far has been James Cook. And that's been pretty consistent. He's been the best offensive player, not named Josh Allen, and that's been pretty much the case every single week.
Eric P comes in again and says, Allen didn't play well, but was not helped by literally anyone else on the offense, line included. How many drops today? Come on, pull it up. It's an issue. And that's an issue that the whole offense as a whole is going to have to address. And Dorothy Hunter is in the chat. She's not really liking that I'm criticizing Josh Allen. Stop criticizing Josh. He's our quarterback. Dorothy, sit down. All right. Number one, with all due respect. But Dorothy, you also have to understand that we paid Josh a lot of money. If Josh was just a fringe quarterback that we had the last 20 years ago, you know what I mean? With all the different quarterbacks coming in, then I could say, I expect it from him because he's not an elite guy. but we pay him like an elite guy. He is one of the best in the game, top 3 for sure, top 5 to be generous and say he needs a top 5 quarterback, but he's top 2. It's him and Mahomes, in my opinion. So I need more. When push comes to shove, in that minute, you got to make something happen. Because I can tell you right now, you put Pat Mahomes in that situation, some positive things are going to happen. But Pat Mahomes also has freaking Andy Reid. So
that's what I was just going to say. Like,
be better.
That's what I was going to say. Joe. That's not even the case this year. Like, Mahomes hasn't been the difference maker, really. It's just the team collectively has, and they're the only team now with Rashee Rice down for the year too. They still find a way. And I mean, maybe we'll see it again tomorrow against the Saints. We'll see, right? But what Eric's saying is essentially my point from earlier, and that is when Allen does not play well, and then you get no help from the O-line, you get no help from the play calling, you get no help from the receiving core, that's going to turn a bad game from Allen into a 9 for 30 game for a 56 passer rating and an abysmal offensive performance. I mean, that's just essentially, that's the result. I mean, it's unfortunate, but we all are well aware of the fact that if Allen goes out and plays a bad game, this team does not win. I mean, you'd be hard pressed to go and find a list of examples or an example list of games where the Bills had a poor performance from Josh Allen and they still wound up winning. The Chiefs, you could argue they have 3 games this year already where they've done that, where Mahomes has not played well. The Bengals game, a perfect example. They just find a way to do it. And in a game like today, the Bills found a way to do the exact opposite.
Right.
And that's the reality.
This is where Josh, and it sucks for me to say it, but like, it's just what it is. This was the game where we needed Josh to say, all right, I got to put the game on my back. If I have to scramble a little bit, scramble and get 10 yards and give us some time and some room, let's do. It's magic time. You know what I'm saying? And that's where we need Josh, because Joe Shiesty would have done the same thing. Freaking Mahomes would have done the same thing. And I placed Josh because I love him and I think he's a damn good player. I put him in that category too, where when we need you to step up, you got to step up. But he didn't get enough help today. Did not get enough help. CJB. I don't think coaching is what lost him the game. Josh Allen went 9 for 30 with Hollins, Keon as his top 2 receivers. Josh Allen had a bad game, and they need to upgrade a receiver. I don't disagree.
Yeah, once again, like both things can be true. I mean, this is the case. This is the reality. Like, that's what today was. There was no production from the wide receivers, and Allen didn't play well. And Joe Brady probably had his worst day as an OC on top of it. That's not going to result in many wins. It's just not.
Back to back. Richie Fresh, Scary McDermott will get another pass due to roster turnover. I don't think he's going to get a pass. I mean, let me tell you this. Here, I'm going to quiz you a little bit, Z-Bot.
Yeah.
They asked McDermott today his thoughts on the final possession. What do you think he said? Based on what you've heard.
Defensively or offensively?
They're on his final possession offensively.
And he was asked what his thoughts were?
Yeah. They say, hey, coach, talk about your final possession. What do you think he said? What he normally says, typically.
We saw some good things. We gotta go back and look at it on tape and see what we can improve on. That type of thing.
Pretty much. I've got to do a better job on that. That starts with me. How often do we hear that? That starts with me. Efficient offense was the better approach. What he's trying to say is we went 3 deep. We took 3 shots. What are you trying to say? Efficient offense.
So to me, that's not, it's funny. It's almost an oxymoron. He says it starts with me, but that seems like a dig at Brady to me.
Does it?
When he says efficient offense, what was it again? Efficient offense is key.
I've got to do a better job on that. That starts with me. Efficient offense was the better approach.
Yeah. So to me, efficient offense is the opposite of 3 bombs down the field. And so, I don't know. I don't think McDermott's dialing up 3 bombs.
This is twice now McDermott has had an issue with Brady, because the issue was it'll never happen again. I'm paraphrasing when he talked about the trick play when there was momentum all on our side, and here comes Joe Tricks. Joe Tricks comes out and does a trick play. Joe Brady, hey, let's take it easy. We got momentum. Let's move the ball forward. Let's try to gain. Let's continue on the momentum. That was last week, and this week. And good catch, by the way. That starts with me. Efficient offense was the better approach. So he gave Joe Brady the reins to do what you got to do, and then you dial up these 3 big plays. In this moment, at your back end, Was this more for you, Brady, or was this more? Were you trying to get the team winning, or were you trying to, gloat and call that big play? I mean, hindsight 2020, you could talk about it. And
I just don't, for the life of me, I don't understand how you're sitting up there with the game in your hand, and you think in your own end zone with no timeouts, 32 seconds. You also have to factor in, and these are things that we're sitting here factoring in as fans. I'm sitting there thinking, I know for a fact the Texans have the field goal kicker to make a field goal from midfield if they get the ball back off of a punt here. You have got to approach the offense with that in mind, knowing that if we are running 3 low probability offensive plays in terms of catching, I just got through telling you that there were 15 attempts of 10 plus air yards today for Allen. He was 1 of 15. So you got to go into that drive knowing you cannot do what you're about to try to do all game long. You're going to hinge the game on it. You know for a fact that if you don't gain a yard, you are going to give one of the best kickers in the league a chance to win this game within his range. That's exactly what they did. So once again, my problem wasn't throwing the ball down the field 3 straight times. That's something that they used to do with Ken Dorsey. That, to me, when I constantly reference the common sense being implemented by Joe Brady, that was one of them to me. It never made any sense to me in situations where the Bills needed a first down or they needed to move the ball or whatever. I never understood bombing the ball down the field in those situations. They did it 3 times today. It was never, my disdain never came from throwing the ball. If you wanted to throw a curl route to whoever, I don't care, Hollins, Kincaid, whoever, if you wanted to throw the ball and try to get a first down and then end the game as opposed to just running it, because I know a lot of people are out there saying, why didn't you just knee it or why didn't you just run it? And at first I thought that might make sense, but even if they did burn all 3 timeouts, they still would have had a chance to get in range to kick the field goal. So I understand not wanting to just do that straight up. But to throw it down the field like that, as opposed to trying to go for the sticks, which is what they've been doing all year anyways. That's all that works for them.
Be methodical. And they weren't methodical this way. They just wanted to go for the gusto, if you will. I got to rewatch the game as well. It'd be nice to rewatch the game, or at least those last seconds to kind of see what it is. But tough nonetheless. Quinn Peters, by the way, Quinn, I appreciate that super chat earlier, and you came back with the comment here. He goes, yeah, Josh Allen didn't play well, but he was running for his life with their blitzes. Joe Brady needs to adjust so we can be successful with our receivers. And I don't disagree with you, sir. I think we're bang on that. Dinesco says, last 2 seasons, we started off 3-1, and we just fall off and have to claw back. Lack of leadership and discipline, which starts with coaching staff and QB. I mean, it is crazy. It's not just the last 2 seasons. I think it's the last 4 seasons that they've started 3-1. Might even be 5. But it is odd. It feels like once you hit that month mark, the things that were working really well, you got to continue to build on them. Yeah. And it felt like last week they were exposed a bit, and this week I didn't see a whole lot of change up offensively to try to go away from the things that did not work last week at all. Man, it was just top to bottom offensively. Tough. What's Bartek saying? BT saying the defense made adjustments at half and gave multiple opportunities to the offense, and we continue to not take advantage. JA wasn't good enough. To me, BT just basically summed this game up in a nutshell. It's 17-3 going to half. This defense forces an interception, a strip sack that gives you the ball in the end zone. They get the stop you need at the end, plus getting the pressure on Stroud to force him into the intentional grounding. Right. You get the ball back. You can take this to overtime. And Rico, the way the Bills were playing defensively, did you have faith? If you're a Texans fan, where was your faith in the Texans driving down the field in overtime to score a touchdown on these Bills, the way that they were playing in the second half? That's why I wanted it to go to overtime. At least give you a shot. That entire second half. It felt like the Bills were the better team in the second half, and you take that into a completely clean slate in overtime. Instead, they just said, screw it, we'll give you a chance to win it at the end, and they took advantage of it. At the end of the day, you're not wrong, man. And you got to take advantage. And that's exactly what took place. So Bartek coming in, Josh, listen, all elite quarterbacks have their moments where they're just not good, where that's why they say everyone's got to do their 111th. Their 111th. Sometimes, I mean, 6 of the 11, 7 of the 11 sometimes just don't get it done. And on that last play, not everybody was in proper position. Not everybody was in where they were supposed to be. And it sucks because if everything's working the way it's supposed to be and everybody's making the right reads and everybody's where they're supposed to be, we execute. And the problem is we didn't execute on that one. And that's
but the thing is, I don't the mindset clearly was, Rico, at the end. The mindset clearly was, let's go try to win this.
I don't mind that mindset.
I hate it. I hate it.
I like it because dude, too often we are stuck with the let's just play for overtime. But what do you mean play for overtime? Because that's the other way to look at it.
It's circumstantial. Mm-hmm. You have 0 timeouts. There's 30 seconds left. You're in your own end zone. Right. Josh Allen has 9 completions. There was nothing about that game that gave you the confidence to go and do what they tried to do. That's what made no sense about it. I'm with you. If it's like for instance, if it was like today's Ravens Bengals game, 38-38, Joe Burrow's got 400 yards. Screw it. We're moving the ball at will down the field. Let's try to go win this in 30 seconds. That's not what the situation set up for the Bills today, and they pretended like it was. And in pursuit, I guess the best way to put it is this, Rico. In pursuit of trying to win it in regulation, they lost it in regulation.
That's exactly what happened. That's exactly what happened. We didn't execute. At the end of the day, that's exactly what took place. But here's another thing too, right? Know your player's strengths. So the jump ball guy is Keon Coleman. I get it. You took your shot at Keon and it didn't work out. All right. What's the next play here? Do you run the football with James Cook? That's been running pretty effectively. Maybe we get a first down, but like you said, we're out of timeouts. So does it work to your advantage? Maybe he takes the clock off the time off the clock. There's so many circumstances you look at it. Or they said, we're going for the win, guys. So let's roll. But put your guys in the best strength of position, right? If Curtis Samuel is your speed guy, lateral guy, get him on a crossing route or something that can get him in space, catch the ball, and do something. But we didn't execute. We weren't accurate enough.
Someone mentioned in here earlier. I think I got to find it, but I kind of remember what they said. And apologies, I don't have it the credit right off. Oh, here it is. Michael Lewis. I kind of like this approach. Yep. Run on first down, and then on second down, make them use timeouts, and then see where you're at on third. I like that approach. If you run on first and second, odds are you're out of your own end zone. You gained a couple of yards. You took a couple of seconds off the clock. You made them burn 2 timeouts. Then, do we want to go and try and move the sticks and then take this to overtime? Or do we want to run it one last time, have them burn their third timeout, and we'll see if we either get the first down or we're going to punt it from here? Because either way, like I said, Rico, this is how I approach this game. Knowing in my mind, the one thing I'm thinking about the entire time they're in the backfield, and as soon as they drop back to pass, I knew that when they threw on first down, they were going to throw on all 3 downs. I knew it was inevitable.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Of course, because I had just felt like they were going to set the tone of that drive right off the bat. You knew what you knew what the strategy was. And when Allen threw it down the sideline, I'm like, oh my God, they're looking to move the ball here. How you don't sit up there and know that Kaimi Fairbairn is one of the best field goal kickers in the league. All you need to do in my mind here, if the Bills gain, because how deep was that kick? It was 59 yards.
59 yards.
If the Bills gain 7 yards on, say, 3 straight runs or a couple of dump passes, that 59-yard kick then turns into a 66-yard kick. That would be an NFL record. That's the difference in the game. They approached it as if, let's go. And by the way, the approach was also considering the idea that Tyler Bass was going to make a 59-yarder as well. You got to consider that too. Even if they got down and did what they wanted to do.
Not wrong.
That's where you're at mentally. They wanted all these things to go right that were never going to go right. That's why it makes absolutely no sense at all.
So I'm going back and I'm looking at the 3 last sequence of plays that we had. And I was like, where do we go wrong? So the first down play was the shot to Keon Coleman, offensive pass interference. Okay. So we got that in the books. And then I was looking at the very next play. It was the third down play. Curtis Samuel was open.
Yes, Curtis there were guys open in the flat. Yeah, I know. There were.
It was a crossing route. I even said it. Let me remind myself. Curtis Samuel was there. It was just a poorly thrown pass, but he had a guy in his face. So welcome to the NFL. Welcome to the NFL. You're on your 1 yard line. You got backed up because of an offensive pass interference. Oh man, just going back and looking at these things, it's tough.
Also, you know what I think? You know what I thought would have been beautiful in that moment too? That's when you use one of the greatest dual threat quarterbacks in NFL history. Allen running the ball there. When Allen runs the ball, when's the last time you saw a design run for Allen that didn't gain at least 4 yards, like minimum? Get out of the back of the end zone. There's so many things that come with that. You make them burn the timeout. You're out of the back of the end zone, and it extends the length in which you can punt the football.
Right.
I
think they went for the gusto. They went for the win. They were trying to win it. They didn't think about, oh, well, if you get it or if think about that. If you get 3 incomplete passes, which it did happen, you're giving the ball right back to them, essentially giving them the game. So you better take a shot where you're like an easy pass where they have to call timeout. Time is ticking off the clock a little bit, break a couple tackles, this down the third. Man, there's so many things that could happen. But you know what? Shoulda, woulda, coulda. Shoulda, woulda, coulda. And we are in a position.
No, you know what, though, Rico? Typically in the shoulda, coulda, woulda situations, it's like, it's typically out of your control. Like, we should have thrown it here or whatever, but like you understood why it went a certain way. This to me just came down to like, just call the play. Call the play. Coulda, shoulda, woulda. When I think of coulda, shoulda, woulda, I mean, I could have made the field goal, right? Should have caught the ball. To me, it's not coulda, shoulda, woulda when you literally have the ability to send in the play and you send in 3 straight. Hey, let's see if we can get 50 yards here. I don't know. What's Maximed saying? He's saying Rasul said he thinks the Bills only had 10 players on the field for the Texans' final play that set up the field goal, which was true. Dorian was on the field for 11 seconds. Oh, I didn't even realize that. But regardless, they might as well have had 6 people on the field. And this is, if you want to get down to criticizing McDermott, this is, to me, I don't understand. And it's not just McDermott. Go ahead and watch the NFL in totality in these moments. I don't get it. There seems to be, I think I've said this before. I think I might have even said this right after the 13-second game. There seems to be this hive mind, this collective mindset amongst defensive coordinators where they all get together in the offseason and they say, hey, when the game's on the line and the other team needs to move the ball, we all have to agree that we're running prevent. And if somebody doesn't do it, then that person has to go and take their pants off at midfield during the Super Bowl. I don't understand it. I'll give you a perfect example. It just happened 2 weeks ago. The Philadelphia Eagles were beating the Atlanta Falcons all game long. All game long. Defense was playing well. The Falcons couldn't score. The final drive, Rico, the Falcons had all 3 of their timeouts. They went the length of the field without even needing to use one of them because the Eagles played prevent the entire time. So you're looking at this particular play. In my opinion, the Texans have one shot to gain enough yards to put themselves in a comfortable spot for Fairbairn. Why wouldn't you stack everybody towards the field goal line as opposed to defending the end zone? The end zone's doing you nothing there. They were never going for the end zone there, ever. Why would everybody not be up on the line? Dude, that ending of that game makes me want to check in somewhere and have me just watch for 48 hours.
I'm gonna tell you this though. I'm gonna tell you a lot of the things that we talked about today. At the end of the day, I think where Bills fans are split down the middle is game on the line. Do you play it safe or do you go for the win? Win or lose, do you take your shots? And I'm in the game on the line, 17. I don't care what the circumstances are. I want to win this game. I trust my guy. And you're on the end of, and probably a lot of Bills fans are like, we will still have a shot with Josh Allen, but just take a breather. Let's just take this into overtime, run a couple easy plays, make them burn their timeouts, take the click off, punt it all the way down there where they were out of field goal range and they have to really take a big shot. And I think Bills fans are split down the middle. Go for it with 17, win or lose, and just try it, or take the safe one, take the safe route. And I think there's some fans that are really split on that.
Well,
but I think I have something to say though.
The fans that are split, that are not on my side, and I hate to sound like a pompous prick, but the fans that are split and are on the opposite end of the fence from me, you're wrong. You're wrong. That was not the right way to approach the end of that damn football game. Point blank.
Hey, I'm team go for the win. That's your code. That's your 17. If I'm gonna put the game on the line with somebody, go for 17. Problem is, we don't have the facilities for this big man. We didn't have the personnel.
Too. You also got to give credit. The punt too. We're not even sitting here and talking about this if he boots it out of the back of the end zone. That was the most perfect punt. Go back and watch that punt. I mean, it is
great punt.
Gorgeous.
You couldn't have asked for a better punt.
If that punt just back. Oh God. Oh my Christ.
But listen to this though. Bills veteran on the final offensive series, 3 passes and no rush. I hope the coaches learn from it.
Tell me it was Thurman.
Listen, it was a veteran. It was a veteran on the final offense series. I don't know if it's a veteran on the team, a veteran. I mean, a freaking Hall of Famer. Who knows?
Oh, it's an anonymous quote.
Anonymous quote.
Oh,
I hope they learn from it. I hope the coaches learn from it.
I mean, I do too.
What say you on that? If so, clearly somebody in the locker room or multiple people like, why didn't you run the ball?
Once again, we are always fully transparent. We never come on here and tell you, hey, if you put the X guy at the Y position, do that and do the 1, 2, 3, and the 9 and the 10, this is how you're going to win. We don't do that. We come on here and talk as fans, right? We love the Buffalo Fanatics community. It's why we love the platform that we have for you guys to come out with us and talk like this. We're not going to sit here and say, hey, I think Joe Brady should have, I can't even, this is what I'm trying to say. When there are moments, Rico, that are so egregiously obvious to me and they're not ran, I can't fathom it. When you're reading off that quote that says, I hope they learned from it.
Yep.
I'm sitting in the middle of it saying, can you just learn right now? Can you learn right now that this isn't going to happen? This isn't going to work right now? Like, to me, that was just never in the cards what they wanted to do. So what they just said, I hope they learn from it. I sure hope they do. Because if they do that again, I mean, that's going to be the talk all week long and deservingly so. And you now got 2 weeks in a row where you can go and pinpoint moments. Like last week, whose bright idea was it to draw up the trick play when you finally had a bit of offensive semblance going?
Buddy.
And then today, whose idea was it to draw up 3 bombs when you can't complete a ball more than 10 yards down the field in your own end zone with no timeouts, with 30 seconds, with the best field goal kicker in the league on the other side of it? Insanity to me, Rico.
Listen, I don't blame you one bit. Steve C. Last week, Josh hurt his shoulder on that trick play. You talk about that trick play, right? Last year, same shoulder injury happened against the Jets, and it affected his accuracy. Any thoughts on if Allen's shoulder affected his accuracy today? I don't know. I mean, Josh is one of those guys that won't tell you shit until, it becomes something.
Yeah, you really will never know.
That's how it happens. It goes, Josh has been with a bum shoulder for 3 weeks and he's been playing like that. What a tough son of a gun. We're never going to know until they really want to reveal that he's got that. So that hit he took today is being questioned right now on social media. Yo, what NFLPA? What are you talking about, man? This guy just clearly hit his head. He's obviously concussed. How'd you guys let him back in the game? Listen, they put you in the blue tent for a reason. They check you out. How many fingers am I holding up? If you say 7, sit your ass down. Right? If you tell me exactly what day is it today? Where are we at? What stadium we at? And if you can boom, 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 fire those off, you pass the test, get your ass back in there if we need you. I mean, so I don't think they would ever put him in a position knowing what happened to Tua and a bevy of other players to risk Josh out. If he wasn't effective to play enough. Concussions
are no joke. Like, if you have the signs, you are not going back in there. They will not let you back in there.
So that's exactly right.
He had every right to go back in. They wouldn't, trust me, they would not have allowed him back in there if he wouldn't have been able to.
Samuel is non-existent. Hollins is terrible, and MVS is a waste. I'm over Von Miller. Milano stays injured, and our D is fragile. We need a head coach to take us to the next level. Bill Belichick. Well, I'll tell you this.
Yeah. All right. So it took 5 weeks, and there we are with the Belichick talk. This is phenomenal. I was waiting to see how long it would be. And he's not Ricardo. You're not the only one. I've seen that at least a dozen times on Twitter, by the way. So you're not the only one.
I know people are harsh, and as they should be, because you have to question the money that was given to Curtis Samuel. And Curtis Samuel right now is being paid a lot of money.
And he's making me look like an idiot. And you too, for that matter. What did we say about this guy? He finally has a good quarterback. This is going to be the year for Curtis Samuel. Dude,
is it his fault?
I don't know.
Is it his fault? And I'm like, where have you been? He's been MIA, and I stand on it. I'm gonna stand on my business when I say it. He's been MIA. But whose fault is it that he's MIA? Are we not putting him in the proper positions to win? What have you relegated a trickster, or have you made him a gadget player and you're gonna pay a gadget player? They're not even doing that, though.
They're not even doing that. They're not even doing that, though.
This is what I don't understand. So I don't want to put it all on Curtis Samuel because I'm sure he's better than what he's been able to give us. But like, put him in better position. I just don't get this part. So I'm gonna need a little bit more from Curtis Samuel. But I mean, Joe Brady, bro. Yo, the magnifying glass is on Joe Brady. The magnifying glass is absolutely on Joe Brady. He's gonna have to be better.
And he's got to go against the best defense he's probably faced thus far this coming up weekend.
Hey, by the way, let me play this audio for everybody in the chat. Let me see if I can try to get this thing going here. He's giving a reasoning. Coach McDermott is giving the reason how they approached how they approached the way they did.
Oh, turn it up to 11 for me.
3 timeout.
I don't know if you guys can
tough game. I thought our guys did a great job coming back. Coaches made good adjustments. Just not enough in the end, and that's on me. The end of game situation on offense, we needed we're a tough situation, 3 timeouts. They're holding 3 timeouts. I got a good field goal kicker. We needed to run the clock and move the chains, and that's on me. We didn't do that there, and that's my fault.
Oh, so that's not the quote you had earlier then. I don't hear him saying
well, hold on, there's still more to it because I don't know if it's, but I mean, I was just getting a quote by somebody that wrote it in there, one of the media.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get into that. I don't think that's relevant right now, Sal. Overall, again, that's on me. And
wait, what's not relevant?
So we just got to do a better job.
Hold on. I'll see if I can repeat the question here.
I'm not going to. We didn't do that there, and that's my fault.
John, were you on board with the play call?
Were you on board with the play call?
And there it is, folks.
Were you on board with the play call?
So what I said earlier, the answer is no, go ahead and play what he said.
Yep.
I'm not going to get into that. I don't think that's relevant right now.
That's not relevant. That's not relevant. It's a nice way of saying, that's not what I would have done.
So we just got to do a better job. I got to do a better job in that situation.
So it wound up being exactly what you said.
So there's a bit more, but you guys can go and kind of have an idea.
So what he just said, folks, to put it in black and white terms for you, that is not how McDermott wanted that offense executed at the end there.
Read between the lines.
Read
between the lines. So that's Joe Brady getting a little too comfortable, or I mean, McDermott's not an offensive guy.
If I'm McDermott,
he's got to defer to the offensive coordinator, and he's given these guys their respective ability to call their plays. Hey, I'm not going to meddle. Call your plays, away you go. But now McDermott has let you do it twice now. 2 games in a row. You've made some questionable calls. Now I don't want to be the micromanager, but I'm gonna have to be the micromanager. What play you calling? All right, go ahead and call that. Nah, I don't like that. Switch it up, right? Or give me the play call sheet. Let me see what you're calling, and I'll let you know if I like it or not. So does he go back into micromanager role? I hope he doesn't. Joe Brady's gotta rein it back. This is a long season, bro. Don't lose the season this early in the season. We got a long season. Play it safe. You got an elite quarterback. Don't waste that, brother. Don't waste that. Yeah, don't waste that quarterback with these BS calls you've been making. Can't have it.
That answer is worse than him just saying no, because it's just oh my God. So if I'm him, and I don't know if you can hear this, but this is the sound of what I want to hear tomorrow morning at One Bills Drive on Joe Brady's door. And that's McDermott knocking on the door and saying, buddy, if you run 3 go routes again in that situation, I will pick a fan out of section 325 to come in and call the final series of the football game. That's what I would say.
Buddy, it's something. Hey, how do you feel about PVC? Because this is something that has been circulating a little bit, and I'm starting to gravitate towards this. And he asks, at what point does a lack of involvement for Kincaid become a serious problem? Is this an 86 problem or a Brady problem?
Well, it's a great question because you wouldn't know it, but Kincaid led the team today in targets. He just had 2 catches, but he led the team in 6 targets. I thought he had the play of the day on that catch that they didn't attempt to challenge. It's an unbelievable catch. In my opinion, that was a catch, or at least deserved the opportunity to get a second look at it being a catch. But I think it's a mix of both. I mean, they targeted him 6 times today, only 2 completions. It does feel like, however, there isn't enough schemed up to have him be the primary target. It oftentimes feels like when he does get the ball, he is the second read. It doesn't often feel like there are moments where it's schemed up just for him or just from Knox, who you don't hear from at all anymore. So I guess you could PVC, you could make this point on just about everybody right now. Go and look at the stat sheet. You could make this same point on everybody, but Kincaid was supposed to be the guy this year that was going to step up in a major way and really lessen the gap that was going to be left behind by Diggs. You haven't seen that at all, but oddly enough, he did lead the team today in targets, but 2 receptions. To me, to answer this question the best way I can, it just doesn't feel like there's enough completely dedicated to him and him alone. It just feels like when he does get his looks, he's the check down guy or he's the intermediate guy on the second read. It doesn't seem like there's a ton going strictly to him. And you're seeing that unfold. I mean, he hasn't had, he's not the guy he's just not a guy you look at and say, oh, Kincaid. You know what I mean? That's not the way it's been. But that's not the way it's been with anybody really outside of James Cook and Khalil Shakir to some extent.
Last super chat here. Brett comes in and says, I don't know why people want Adams. I'd rather Amari Cooper. He's a great runner who can create plays after the catch and get the deep ball. Brent, I'm 1,000% with you. I think it's a little too steep for Adams, in my opinion. If we get him, great. If not, Amari Cooper is the target that we should be definitely targeting at the moment. He's cheap. He's affordable, and he wants to play with a quarterback, and he wants to play with a franchise that knows what the heck they're doing at the moment. The Browns are just a hot mess altogether. So I'm with you on Amari Cooper. By the way, did you catch that handshake between Stephon Diggs and?
Oh my God, no, I didn't. Do you have it?
Let me cue that bad boy up for you because
after the game.
It was after the game when everybody was kind of catching up with one another, and Diggs was, I think he was just in the middle of chatting with Mitch Trubisky, and here comes Josh. So they're saying Josh seeked them out, right? Whether you want to call him seek it out or not, but Josh, here, I'm gonna find that clip for you right now. You guys let me know how you view this, and I'll let you tell me how you view this as well, and then we can discuss it. It was I'll just play it, and you guys you let me know how you see it. It was, I'll just say it this way, it was short. It wasn't a long one. There's Mitch.
Oh.
And that's it.
Oh.
So hold on. So I like to review these things, right? So here comes Josh.
Ouch.
Josh is clearly not interested. He's looking elsewhere. He just wants to get this over with. When you have love for a player, you wait for that player. I've seen it many, many times where players want to see each other because they play college together, they did whatever together, they're former teammates. They wait, they chat it up, they whatever, right? So Josh is looking elsewhere, first of all. Has his hand out. Diggs sees it. There's the head nod. Look at that expression on the face. What's that tell you right there?
That's saying we're doing this for the camera. Was there anything before the game? I didn't even think about this. This is how much I didn't give a shit about this. There wasn't
before the game because apparently Diggs routinely does his same routine doesn't change, where he comes out later to do his receiver drills and all that stuff. Josh, on the other hand, was out way earlier than when Diggs was, so they missed each other. They weren't, and they were both doing their routine thing. They just happened to not catch each other pregame. But this is your interaction. It's the facial expression for me.
he was showing Trubisky more love than Allen, and vice versa.
Absolutely. You just kind of look at it and play it forward. You're like, there's no interest in. Oh, and there's that look, the pressed lips. If for people that read bodies, I'd love to know what that means right there. So it's like,
play it again.
Done with. I'm looking at you. The eyes tell me, man, I'm just trying to get this out of here, man. Let's dap it up and let's call it a day. And it's like, there's no long embrace. There's no
oh my God, this is terrible. Play it all the way.
And then here we go. So I'm gonna play the whole thing and then we'll call it a day. There's Jerry Hughes in the back. Hey man. Hey, that's it. He's out of there. Now, look at this.
Well, that's just Dion. I don't know. Dion wouldn't fake it though. Dion doesn't fake. We know Dion's real. So,
so in the chat,
that was rough.
In the chat, what say you guys? Are you kind of like, oh, it is what it is, man? It's like he just lost. He's had a horrible game. This was supposed to be the game that he came in and it kind of waxed things, and it didn't quite go the way he needed to. But you know what? Diggs gets the final laugh in this situation. My quarterback threw for 300 plus yards. Obviously, he turned the ball over twice, but we got the win. But how sweet would it have been if Josh got the win, didn't have the numbers he did, but got a win in Houston? That DAP would have been completely different. Maybe the same.
Do you think it would have been?
That's I don't know. That's a tough one, man. That's a tough one because it wasn't a blowout. It was close. But here's the thing. Diggs got the win on this one because his numbers were solid. He had 6 receptions, 8 targets, 80 plus yards receiving. And his team won.
He had a couple of big catches too on third down and whatnot.
Big catches, big moments, right? When your quarterback needs to count on someone. So now I'm interested to see if there's any tweets from our man, Stephon Diggs. If he goes, didn't I tell you? Or didn't I say, are you sure? Are you sure that he's going to be better? He could literally stand on his business and say, I told you guys. I told you. If I'm not there, what y'all got? It was a prime example. He had his ability to prove what he was able to do. You had your rookie ready to go. At least Khalil Shakir wasn't there. That would have changed a little bit. But I don't know, man. My man Sweat says, Rico, I disagree with you on the final laugh. Let's see if the Texans can make it to the playoffs. I mean, the final laugh is obviously if they see each other in the playoffs again. But right now, if they don't face each other for the rest of the year, based on circumstances, he got the last laugh. He absolutely got the last laugh.
I know what I saw a point brought up here earlier, by the way, that we didn't reference that I'm just realizing too that's also crazy.
What's that?
It's coming from Buffalo Buddha. This has to be the first time we won the turnover battle by 2 and lost. That's another thing I didn't even think of. As bad as they played offensively, they did not turn it over. They got 2 major turnovers. This is going back to what we talked about earlier. The same theme is that, man, they just had every opportunity in the world, it felt like, and they spoiled every opportunity that they had. And it's the best way to put it.
It's what I said earlier. How do we lose the turnover battle? So we won the turnover battle, but we lost the turnover, the time of possession game, and we couldn't convert on third downs. We forced turnovers to give them the ball back, but we don't convert on third downs. It's crazy to me. Absolutely crazy to me. Oh boy. But here we are, man. Diggs, in my opinion, gets the final laugh in this whole situation.
That was something though. That was interesting. You know, it's funny. I completely forgot about all that. So when you brought it up, I was like, oh, this is interesting. That was, I just thought it was funny that Trubisky was hanging out with him beforehand. And that looked like more love there than there was with Allen. By the way, the Arizona Cardinals, everybody thought sucked against the Bills. They just sealed up the victory against the San Francisco 49ers.
There you go.
The Giants are going to beat the Seahawks on the road.
Shit.
Yeah. So this league, it's something. I mean, it continues to be this league, you know.
Oh, snap. Would you look at that? The Giants take over and beat Seattle, which Seattle looked damn good in the last game they won. So they lost. It was just a matter of San Francisco. Damn, San Fran No. Did you say San Fran winning or losing?
San Fran's going to lose. They just picked off Brock Purdy. They'll take a knee and end the game.
Wow. Listen, how times have changed in the NFL. This is why I love the NFL. And this is another reason as to why, like, we can't sweat these losses too badly, because every game is so hard to win. So hard to win. So we got to cherish the wins that we do get. So, you guys didn't play anybody hard. Nah, man. Listen, you got to win these games. Every chance you got to, any chance you get to put a dub in the column, you got to do it. Don't care how it comes and who it comes against. Got to get the job done.
With that said, I had the only joyous moment of my day today was on the pregame show. It was more of a Jets losing watch party than it was a pregame show, because the Jets were on against the Vikings early morning here, right, and that game was coming to its end during the pregame show. So before we close up shop here, that is the Bills' next opponent. It is Monday Night Football. It'll be their first time playing Aaron Rodgers in a full duration. We all know what happened the last time. Aaron Rodgers today, Rico, had 3 interceptions. That's tied for the most in a single game in his career. He had a pick 6. That was one of only 5 or 6, I believe, he's ever thrown in his career.
And Ginkle.
And that offense, once again, nothing going. He got hurt in this game. Quinnen Williams got banged up in this game. A couple of guys got banged up in this game for the New York Jets. Garrett Wilson had a really solid day, but it didn't wind up mattering. So the Jets fall to 2-3. They win next week against the Bills. That will make the Jets at 3-3 the division leader in the AFC East, knocking the Bills to second. If the Bills win, they will be 2-0 in the division at 4-2, knocking the Jets to 2-4. So you then go from a tie in the division leaning towards the Jets being in first place, or a 2-game lead. So you see the Jets this morning, Rico, they throw the ball. Aaron Rodgers had 54 attempts in that game. 54 attempts. Damn. The offense for the Vikings was having their way early in the game. They could not do anything at all in the second half. They scored 6 points, 2 field goals late in the game. Sam Darnold, 14 of 31. He couldn't do anything in the second half. So I ask you this. We're talking about, we got to just shake it off, move on. The difference between 4-2 and 3-3 feels like light years between each other. How are you feeling right now going up against that defense next week?
I don't feel good. I don't feel good at all. They match up extremely well against the Bills. I'll keep it a buck. I had us losing this game to the Jets only because it was one of those scenarios where they just match up well defensively against us. But they're banged up. They're not the same team. Our defense is not elite by any stretch, but we got some dogs in the squad. So we're gonna have to match up well against these guys. There's not really anything that stands out special to me on their offense side of the ball. It's their defense that gives us issue. And offensively, we've been struggling a little bit. So their defense outplays our offense. It's gonna be a long day. It's going to be a long day, so we got to figure things out quick. It's a must win for the Bills. Must win, because things don't get any easier. They don't get any easier. So we got to win this one. It's a division game. On top of that, we got to win it. Got to win it.
I feel the same way. It's such a huge swing. It swings from a 2-game lead to being in second place. 4-2 just feels so much different than 3-3. It just feels like a massive, massive, massive game. That's why winning. That's the other one that Michelle's mentioning here. That was the other one I forgot to mention. The Sauce got hurt in this game too.
Well, that changes everything, because that's the contingency plan that I was like, if he's playing, he shuts down whoever it is that you need to shut down. So,
I'll be going to that one too, by the way.
Oh, you're going to that one, you son of a gun. Good for you, boss.
I don't know if it's a good for me. My dad already texted me. He said sell the tickets. So
I don't think it's a good one for me.
I don't know how I'm feeling about it. I know I'm exceptionally nervous, because I think the must-win label feels like it's accurate for this game. I know it's early, but that is such a huge swing in the way things will wind up developing towards the end of the year here. Massive game, but putting this one in the rear view, it's going to be tough. I mean, it's going to be tough. This was a really shitty loss.
I got a super chat before you get into the read here. And Druzy says, hello, Cleveland. It's Brendan Bean here. The 3rd round pick, good for Amari Cooper. Okay, good. Send him over. Thank you. Click.
How
if we can do
bad
that,
is Cleveland, man?
send it over.
The Commanders
send that
beat
bitch over
the
right
living
now.
shit out of them. The Commanders are 4-1 too with Jaden Daniels. 4-1.
Yo, Command. I'm a low key Commander fan right now. I like what they're doing out there. Love it.
Yeah, they beat the brakes off of Cleveland. Cleveland is a bad football team. That is a bad football team. So if Amari Cooper wants out, like when we mentioned Devontae Adams, that's just because that's the flavor of the week here. We don't really care who it is. We would just like to see an additional guy to come in and potentially take whatever this is right now for the Bills and make it better. That's all. That's all we're hoping.
Yo, brother, you said it, man. You said it, and that's exactly what we're looking for. Because right now, top dogs in the squad, you gotta have an next receiver. You gotta have a team. And right now, it's not looking good if we're doing this whole everybody eats nonsense. Let's cut that shit out. Let's cut it out. We're not doing it. Everybody eats? No. You got to be one guy that gets the majority of the looks. If it's Kincaid, then make Kincaid the feature guy. If it's him, make him the feature guy. If it's not, then go ahead and get your guy. But you got to figure out who's going to be your guy. Because Kansas City, Houston, Baltimore, Chargers. Who knows what the Chargers are going to look like? I mean, the East is kind of jumbled up, man.
It is dog shit.
It's jumbled up.
It is shit.
It's jumbled up.
Why, if you can take a 2-game lead next week, I mean, that's why if they would have won today, I mean, my God, they win next week, that would have been a 3-game lead. It would have been almost seismic.
It would have been great.
What's done is done.
Man, the number 7 team in the AFC right now is the Las Vegas Raiders, and they don't have a quarterback.
They just got their ass handed to them by Bo Nix.
I called the upset. I said Denver's going to wax them, and they did. Boom. And that's why Devontae's like, get me out of here. Get me the heck out of here. So that's that. Oof.
Hey, on our way out the door, we wanted to tell you once again about our friends over at Autograph. We've been telling you about them all year long, and that's because it's one of our favorite apps to use personally. I know even in moments like this when the Bills lose, it's tough to consume the content, but I'd argue that's the time when it's the best time to do it because you can get your frustration out by reading everything, listen to everything. That's why you're on here with us right now. That's why we're on here with you. And you can listen to us on the Autograph app. You can watch us on the Autograph app. It also has all of the top tweets surrounding the Buffalo Bills, all the top articles, you name it, it's on there. Best part about it is when you go onto the Autograph app and you consume the content like us here, or you read an article, a tweet, what have you, you earn fan points that can be used to redeem for tickets, for jerseys, a bunch of different stuff. Free to download as well. Absolutely love the app. You will love it too. If you haven't downloaded it yet already, it's the Autograph app on the App Store and Google Play. And hopefully next week on the Autograph app on a Tuesday, there'll be some winning stuff to read about as opposed to the stuff you're going to have to read about this week. I'll be back on with you tomorrow to kind of put more perspective on this. I'm going to rewatch it. I'm going to look at the deeper stats, I suppose, as to what really wound up happening there. You'll be on Tuesday, right, Rico? To take
I'm gonna be on the road. So this backdrop that you see here is gonna be completely different. I'll be hoteling it. So I gotta pack up all the things that I need to make this thing happen. So we're gonna try to make it work, baby. We're gonna make it work.
Love it. Always do.
Yes, sir.
The Bills today, they didn't make it happen today, but next week's another week. Hey, we appreciate all you guys tuning in. By the way, we had just about 3,000 in here live with us throughout the duration. You know, it always makes us feel better being alongside you after a loss like this. And we hope we helped you maybe feel a little bit better too, because it's tough to feel good after a loss like that. But the reality of the situation is as such. Bills go down 23-20 in a game that we're going to not soon forget. That's going to sting for a while. Hopefully we can have that sting alleviated next week against the Jets. Throughout the week this week, we'll have you covered. I'll be on tomorrow, Rico Tuesday. We will do a Rico and Bot joint show at some point later in the week as well. Sure. And then it's Bills Jets. So, hey, much love, everybody. Try the best you can to put it in the
like.
Yes, sir. Like, subscribe.
You guys know what time it is, man.
Hey, much love, everybody. Try to enjoy the rest of your week. We will too.
Go Bills.
And as always, go Bills.